Chapter 386. When they arrived in Beijing, Poplar Fruit waved goodbye to the Korean girl who was transferring planes in Beijing. Li Shishan was very reluctant to part with him. If it weren't for the fact that she was about to board the plane again, she would have wanted to stay by Poplar Fruit's side. Well, of course, the main thing was to play with our cute Kiki. After leaving Beijing airport, Poplar Fruit hailed a taxi alone. This time, he did not tell Zheng Yujie that he was coming, nor did he have the time to inform Wan Hitiani. Poplar Fruit did not look for Zheng Yujie on purpose. When he thought of Zheng Yujie's deep love for him, his head started to hurt. Did Poplar Fruit have feelings for Zheng Yujie? Poplar Fruit did not want to think about this question himself. He repeatedly reminded himself that he and Zheng Yujie were just friends, very good friends. However, in his heart, perhaps there was still a bit of softness that was touched by Zheng Yujie's confession on the mountain that day. However, Poplar Fruit subconsciously hid this feeling deep down. When he thought of Zheng Yujie, Poplar Fruit recalled what Lin Xingshan said to him. What Bebe hates the most is when people lie to her. Poplar Fruit did not know what happened to Feng Bebe in the past. Lin Xingshan wanted to say something but stopped herself. Poplar Fruit could roughly guess some of the secrets that she almost revealed. However, these were not important. What he cared about was how Feng Bebe felt now. He only knew that if anything happened between him and Zheng Yujie, then he would be lying to Feng Bebe. Facing the bold and persistent Zheng Yujie, Poplar Fruit did not have much confidence that he could control himself. Poplar Fruit did not even dare to think about what happened between him and Zheng Yujie in the past. A great beauty with a hot body like Zheng Yujie lingered around him, inadvertently revealing her naked body, inadvertently touching his body, and inadvertently forceful kisses. If this continued, what other accidents would happen? It was better to avoid it for a while. Perhaps when he really established a relationship with Feng Bebe, Zheng Yujie would give up. Then, when they met again, there would not be too much ambiguity, right? Poplar Fruit persuaded himself with this thought in his heart, although he did not quite believe it himself. After getting into the taxi, Poplar Fruit called the Beast. Ah, Poplar Fruit, you're already in Beijing? The Beast was very surprised by Poplar Fruit's early arrival. He shouted, "Didn't you say that you would be coming the day after tomorrow? I haven't arranged your scenes yet." The sound from the phone was a little noisy. Poplar Fruit heard a lot of people talking next to him, and someone was shouting with a loudspeaker. Poplar Fruit guessed that the Beast should be on set. Previously, Poplar Fruit did agree with the crew that he would arrive the day after tomorrow. That was because he estimated that if his confession was successful, he would need to spend a few days with Feng Bebe, and then persuade her to come to Beijing with him, so he set aside a few days. But now the situation had changed. I've finished dealing with my personal matters, and I don't have anything else to do, so I just came a little earlier, Poplar Fruit explained with a smile. I see, the Beast said in his unique fresh voice. But you haven't filmed your scenes today. Do you want me to ask a staff member to pick you up and take you to the hotel to settle down first? The Beast was a little embarrassed. Poplar Fruit's sudden appearance in advance disrupted his work plan. Now the set was a mess, and he had no time to deal with Poplar Fruit at all. It was difficult for one person to receive Poplar Fruit, let alone him. Although Wan Hitiani had been established for a few years, he was still considered a newcomer in the industry. The company was neither big nor small, and everyone had multiple jobs. Not only him, but even the director Zimo also had to be an actor, and the stage management was done by everyone together. However, Poplar Fruit was an executive of a big client after all. He did not dare to casually brush off Poplar Fruit, so he could only grit his teeth and squeeze someone out. His eyes scanned the entire crew, and he muttered in his heart, "Who should I look for? Xiao Ge? No, Xiao Ge's scenes today are very important, but the others are not as beautiful as Xiao Ge." The Beast was in a dilemma, but Poplar Fruit was not as complicated as he thought. No, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Poplar Fruit laughed. Just tell me where your crew is and I'll go directly to you. The filming will go according to your plan. It doesn't matter if I don't have any scenes. I'll go and learn from you first. I'm still a complete amateur in acting. Since you're here, you can only stay in the village tonight. Our conditions here are quite ordinary. Why don't you stay in the hotel first, settle down and come back tomorrow? The beast said, a little embarrassed. Everyone is staying in the village. I'm not special. Poplar Fruit laughed. Don't worry, beast. I also came from the village. I can get used to it. Although he had brought Kiki with him, Poplar Fruit felt that it was okay to let Kiki suffer a little occasionally. So easy to talk to? The beast breathed a sigh of relief. He liked Poplar Fruit greatly, so he happily sent the location of the crew to Poplar Fruit. Xinghong's Soup Village? The suburbs. The taxi driver glanced at the address on Poplar Fruit's mobile phone, turned his head, and looked at Poplar Fruit in surprise. That place is very far away. It's more than 200 kilometers from here. Do you really want to go? Although the capital was getting bigger and bigger, there were still some small villages in the periphery. They were located in the mountains and had highways, but it would take 2 or 3 hours to get there. It would probably be dark by the time they got there. Go, it's okay. Poplar Fruit scratched his head. More than 200 kilometers. Poplar Fruit did not expect it to be so far. He guessed that he would not be able to make it in time for today's filming. However, since he had already said it, he could not break his promise. Isn't there an English proverb that goes like this? Better late than never? Fortunately, it was summer, and the daytime was longer. The sun was still high in the sky at 5 o'clock. Poplar Fruit arrived at the set before the crew finished work. Poplar Fruit. The beast came out to greet him with makeup. Although it was the first time they met, Poplar Fruit still recognized him at a glance. It was normal. When Poplar Fruit was in school, he had watched funny videos of beasts. At that time, beasts had not started their own businesses. Poplar Fruit could not help laughing when he saw the beast's thick cassock, a string of big Buddha beads hanging on his chest, and his big bald head, which had become his unique symbol. Kiki was held by her father. When she saw such a strange uncle in front of her, she was a little scared and put her arms around her father's neck. She whispered in her father's ear, "Papa, is this uncle a bad guy?" Poplar Fruit, it's me. I'm sorry. Poplar Fruit held back his laughter. While apologizing for himself and his daughter, he reached out to hold the beast's hand and said with a smile, I really did not expect that you would play the role of Tang Sanzang. It's really. Poplar Fruit could not find any adjectives to describe it. You must have not expected that you would see such a handsome Tang Sanzang, right? The beast showed his sense of humor as always. The white and slightly fat round face, which could not be considered handsome, showed his signature confident smile. Chapter 387. Is this the Kiki you were talking about on the phone? She's so cute, she looks like you. When the beast wasn't being funny, he was a bit gentle and refined. However, the mole on his right lip didn't give off a proper feeling. Kiki pouted and turned her head away, unwilling to look at the beast. As she said before, this uncle was a big bad guy. Poplar Fruit had told the beast about his situation before he came. He was worried about leaving Kiki in Yangcheng, so he wanted to bring her to the set. The beast hesitated for a long time before agreeing. However, Kiki was so uncooperative and showed a strong sense of dislike in front of the beast. This made Poplar Fruit feel quite embarrassed. I'm sorry, she's a bit afraid of strangers. It's okay, she'll be fine after a while. Poplar Fruit said apologetically. It's okay, I'm confident. Back in the day, my fans ranged from 80-year-old grannies to 3-year-old children. They were from all ages. The beast with a good attitude said. When the beast said this, he looked very serious. The more serious he was, the more it contrasted with his jokes. This was the beast that Poplar Fruit was familiar with. He was so good at talking. On the way to the set, Poplar Fruit couldn't stop laughing at the beast's endless dry humor. Kiki still couldn't understand the deeper meaning of the beast's words. She didn't pay attention to the conversation between her father and the beast. Kiki was more interested in the beast's bald head. In the beginning, Kiki was a bit afraid. However, slowly, Kiki felt that the big bad guy in front of her wasn't as scary as she thought. She was a bit restless. Papa. Kiki tugged at Poplar Fruit's clothes and secretly raised her eyes, afraid that the beast would hear. Poplar Fruit excused himself with his eyes and lowered his head to listen to his daughter's needs. Kiki wants to touch it. Kiki whispered into her father's ear. Looking from the back, the bald head called Show looked like a braised egg. Chi-Chi had never seen a person without hair on his head. Even gold had fine hair when it was young. The more she looked, the more curious Kiki became. She really wanted to touch that shiny melon seed. That's rude. How could Poplar Fruit agree to Kiki's request? He tried to educate her. Uncle will be angry. What makes you angry? The beast asked curiously. He had heard Poplar Fruit's refusal, but had not heard Kiki's previous request. No, it's just that the kids are too naughty, Poplar Fruit explained with a smile. He did not elaborate, as he felt that it would put both parties in an awkward position. Chi-Chi pouted her little mouth. She wasn't very happy. She was still looking at the beast's shiny head reluctantly. When they arrived at the set, they were still filming. Because there was a group of people around, Poplar Fruit could only see a skinny man dressed as Sun Wukong from the outside. He was holding a loudspeaker and shouting. That's one of the co-directors and main actors of our micro-movie this time, Zimo. Although he's the co-director in name, he's the main director of this movie now. I'll be assisting him. Zimo is also a rising star in Wanha. The beast followed Poplar Fruit's gaze and said with a smile, Let's go, I'll introduce you to each other. Beast. Poplar Fruit quickly pulled the beast back and said with a smile, Let's wait for him to finish filming before we go. It's not good to disturb everyone's work. I'll just watch from the side. Poplar Fruit's attitude made the beast's impression of him better and better. As an executive of an advertising company, he was so humble and could treat others humbly. It was really rare. A few advertisers had come to the micro-movies that Yaosho had filmed in the past. Although they hadn't interfered with his work in the end, they would give him a few opinions from time to time. It even felt like they were nitpicking. This made the entire crew unhappy. How good would it be if every advertiser could be like Poplar Fruit? Uncle Che. Kiki's eyes were very sharp. She saw Che and Juan in the crowd at one glance. She pointed at Che and Juan happily and called out. Fortunately, Poplar Fruit reacted quickly and quickly covered Kiki's little mouth. Otherwise, with Kiki's voice, everyone's attention would definitely be attracted. Lower your voice. Poplar Fruit raised an index finger in front of his mouth and shushed Kiki. He said, Don't disturb Uncle Che. He's acting. Kiki followed suit and raised her little finger to blow. She shrank her little head, lowered her voice, and quietly asked her father, Papa, what do you mean by acting? Look. Poplar Fruit pointed at Che and Juan with a smile and said to his daughter, Didn't your Uncle Che make up a pig's head? Big ears and a big nose. That's acting. Your Uncle Che is going to act as Zhu Beiji. Haven't you seen Zhu Beiji on TV? Kiki nodded as if she understood, but then she shook her head and said, No, Zhu Beiji is very fat. She also used her hands to make a big belly in front of her. That's because our Zhu Beiji is not an ordinary Zhu Beiji. Our Zhu Beiji is a Zhu Beiji who has successfully lost weight. The Zodiac Beast interrupted with a smile. Of course he wants to lose weight. Poplar Fruit saw Che and Juan and the others again. Che and Juan walked past Sun Wukong, who was scratching his head and cheeks, and the silly Sand Monk with his arms around a petite and lovely village girl. Sand Monk was a modern man named Wang Dachui. According to the script, the camera would zoom in, and Wang Dachui's stunned and envious expression would occupy the whole screen. He would say something very interesting. Holy shit, I finally get it. The one who works hard is a pig, but the one who works hard to lose weight and wins the heart of a beauty is Zhu Beiji. However, during the shooting these were two shots, which would be pieced together with special effects. Cut. Zhang Binyu, the scriptwriter, who was staring at the viewfinder, shouted. He walked over and shouted, Little Gu, you're taking too big a step this time. Remember, you're not a tough woman. You're a cute and lovable Miss Gao Laozhuang. Sun Wukong, who was the assistant director Zimo, ran over to watch the playback and agreed with his judgment. He said with a smile, Lao Bai and Brother Che acted very well this time. Just follow this line again. It doesn't matter. We can pass this line after one more time. Watching from afar, Poplar Fruit suddenly felt that Che and Juan was very engrossed in acting. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Poplar Fruit wouldn't have believed that Che and Juan, who was usually laughing and joking, would listen so carefully. He had been standing there for so long, but Cheonjuan didn't notice his arrival. Seeing Poplar Fruit observing Cheonjuan, the beast came over and said with a smile, "Poplar Fruit, you brought us a good actor. Although he doesn't have much experience, he is very talented in this field. He can get into the role, with just a little help. Very good, very promising. In the future, he will become the pillars of our company together with Lao Bai." Poplar Fruit looked at the beast in surprise. He didn't expect that the beast would give Cheonjuan such a high evaluation. Chapter 388. This was Poplar Fruit's first time watching someone else shoot a movie. Although it was not a very high-budget micro-movie, the set and crew still gave Poplar Fruit a great shock. 1 minute on stage, 10 years of hard work off stage. This sentence could be used in a movie, and it was also in line with what Poplar Fruit was seeing at the moment. Because it was just 2 short scenes, the editing time was estimated to be less than 10 seconds, but the crew went back and forth for half an hour. Of course, this was also related to the actor's skills. For such a simple script, if it was done by a veteran actor, there probably wouldn't be any NGs. However, the crew's spirit of striving for perfection made Poplar Fruit feel quite touched, and it also gave Poplar Fruit a lot of pressure. Poplar Fruit was good at other things, but he was not good at acting. He believed that he could not express his emotions in detail like Cheonjuan and Baiku. When the time came, he would definitely make mistakes. Before coming, Poplar Fruit was still thinking that although his acting was not that good, he could memorize his lines. With such a memory, at least when he was performing, there would not be any problems when he was saying his lines. At least he could cover up his shortcomings a little. Who knew that Beast's micro-movie would be dubbed after it was done? When acting, all he had to do was slightly lip-sync, and the dubbing would be done. Who cared if he could remember it or not? This made Poplar Fruit want to cry, but no tears came out. His only strength could not be used. It seemed like he was really going to make a fool of himself. Thinking that he might have to NGs countless times in the future, Poplar Fruit sighed in his heart. After the crew finished filming, Poplar Fruit and the crew got to know each other under the introduction of Beast. There was no need to talk about Cheonjuan, but the actual director, Zimo Poplar Fruit, was also a genius from his speech and performance just now. Baiku, who played the role of the transmigrated sand monk, did not know Poplar Fruit, but Poplar Fruit had admired him for a long time. Baiku and Poplar Fruit both graduated in the same year. When they graduated, they both did very unusual things. Poplar Fruit sowed seeds and gave birth to Kiki in a daze. As for Baiku, he and his roommate did a Chinese dub for a very famous comic in Nihon country, and it became popular. Poplar Fruit had seen this video before he graduated. Everyone in the dormitory was laughing so hard that they could still remember that scene. The others were also brimming with talent. For example, that petite and lovely Xiaoge. It was said that she used to be the top scorer in the college entrance examination. She hadn't even graduated yet, but Wanha and Tianyi had taken a liking to her. There was also the special effects team that had helped Poplar Fruit before, as well as the scriptwriter team that had created such a wonderful script. Poplar Fruit realized that this group of people was really full of talents. Poplar Fruit couldn't help but be filled with confidence in them. After all, he was still a member of Cinda Translation. Occasionally, he still had to consider the company's advertising investment. Although there was still a long way to go before the production of the entire micromovie was completed, Poplar Fruit suddenly felt that perhaps this investment would really make Cinda Translation a lot of money. Kiki was snatched away by Xiaogu and the other girls who were overflowing with maternal love. The cute Kiki was the best at acting cute in front of these girls. After a while, Kiki's arms were filled with many small accessories, and there were many kiss marks on her face. Baisho, you guys go change your clothes and remove your makeup first. Looking at the time on his phone, Poplar Fruit smiled and said, "Let's go eat together later. Find a big restaurant, it's my treat." When he said that, everyone looked at him strangely, including Baisho. This made Poplar Fruit a little nervous. He scratched his head and asked, "What, did I say something wrong?" He was a little worried that he had accidentally violated someone's taboo. Every industry had its own rules. For example, in Hong Kong, people had to worship God when they were shooting a movie. Maybe they wouldn't even treat them to a meal when they were shooting a video. Poplar fruit. Cheonjuan came over and explained to Poplar fruit. Look around here, it's a barren mountain. If you want to treat us to a meal, we can find a restaurant. Ha, I forgot about that. Poplar fruit scratched his head and laughed. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll remember this time. When we go back, I'll treat everyone to a meal. Poplar fruit's straightforwardness made everyone look at him in a new light. In the eyes of many northerners, most of the people in Guangdong province were relatively stingy. In fact, it was a misunderstanding of doing things shrewdly. For example, Cheonjuan, when everyone was drinking together, he was a thief. He cheated all kinds of people. After a round of drinking, he didn't even finish half a glass of white wine. Baisho, Baisho. Suddenly, Xiaogu waved at Baisho from the two girls in the makeup group. Her eyes were rolling, and no one knew what she was thinking. Speaking of which, there were a total of 5 women in Baisho's crew. 2 of them were logistics aunties. A beautiful and generous girl like Xiaogu was the treasure of the crew. What's wrong? As soon as she called, Baisho ran over and decisively left Poplar fruit behind. Go. At Xiaoji's command, the other 2 girls giggled and each grabbed the beast with one hand. Oh, kidnapped. Oh, Wukong, there's a demon. Come and save master. The beast didn't know what was going on, so it decided to play along with them. It pretended to struggle and yell at the same time. Everyone in the crew couldn't help but laugh. Zimmel looked up to the sky and laughed. Haha, monk, you also have a day like this. Go in peace and follow the demon back to the village. Leave the scriptures to us 3 brothers. After saying that, Zimmel, Baiku, and Cheonjuan laughed and stood there with their arms around each other's shoulders. Poplar fruit laughed while looking at Kiki in confusion. At this time, Kiki was carried by Xiaogu, and the 2 of them sneaked to the back of the battlefield. What are they doing? Poplar fruit was a little confused. Poplar fruit was confused, but Baisho was confused. His hands were tightly held by the 2 girls, so he didn't see the back. Xiaogu hugged Kiki and covered her mouth to laugh. They went behind Baisho. First, Xiaogu reached out a hand and touched Baisho's bald head. Kiki also giggled, and her little hand appeared above Baisho's head. After being touched by the 2 girls, Baisho finally understood what was going on. He changed his line. Oh, molestation. Wukong, you can't leave me in the lurch. The demon is molesting me. There were already a few crew members who were laughing so hard that they were lying on the ground, hammering the grass with all their might. Poplar fruit finally understood. It must be Kiki's doing. It was easy to guess that this little girl still couldn't forget Baisho's head. Poplar fruit didn't fulfill her wish, so she told Xiaogu and the other girls who were obedient to her. She was too evil. Poplar fruit stood at the side and laughed while holding his stomach. He had no intention of helping Baisho or apologizing to his daughter. Well, Baisho's screams were loud, but he still looked like he was enjoying it. Serves you right. Poplar fruit laughed and shouted with Zimmo and the others. Chapter 389. Poplar fruit had been observing the crew earlier, but he did not know that he had also become the subject of everyone's observation. Cheonjuan had been in the capital for more than half a month. After he joined Wanhetiani, he became very familiar with this group of people. The crew learned from Cheonjuan that poplar fruit was very powerful. Cheonjuan had shown them his kung fu before. Although it was not lethal in a real fight, it was amazing enough in the eyes of ordinary people. A master who could jump over a 3-meter-high wall without using his hands said that even 10 of him would not be able to defeat one poplar fruit, which made everyone feel incredulous. They had been guessing before. Could it be that the legendary genius who knew 13 languages was big and tall? In their hearts, there was only a fierce image of 8 feet tall, with a wide face, big ears, a straight nose and a square mouth. Wasn't that Lu Zhishan who uprooted the weeping willow? Now their thoughts were, what kind of joke is this? The big boy in front of him had delicate features and was quite tall. His long legs made all the boys who were less than 1.75 meters tall envious, jealous, and hateful. However, he had the appearance of a weak scholar, and was holding a little girl who was carved out of jade. This imperceptibly weakened his martial prowess. Looking at such a gentle and amiable big boy, the rumor that he was proficient in 13 languages was more believable. How could he be a martial arts master? What a joke! They did not believe it. Everyone shook their heads in their hearts. They thought that Cheonjuan, this cunning guy, must have deceived everyone. Since everyone thought it was a joke, no one bothered with this question anymore. Xiao Gu brought Kiki to play with the beast for a while, and they also let go of him. Two girls from the makeup team led a group of people in strange clothes to the side of the tent with blushing faces to remove their makeup. The makeup of the beast and the transmigrators were the easiest to remove. They just needed to change their clothes and wash their foundation. Cheonjuan's was not difficult either. The pig ears and nose were half hung and half glued on. The one that was really troublesome was Zimo's. Although it looked fake, the golden monkey fur was stuck on with a special glue. It took a lot of effort to remove it. By the time he came out, everyone had already packed up their things. Papa, Kiki is hungry. Kiki clutched the plastic bag with one hand and hugged her father's leg with the other, interrupting Poplar Fruit and Cheonjuan's reminiscing. Hungry? Poplar Fruit squatted down with a smile and picked up Kiki. He reached for the suitcase he brought with him, and remembered that they were in the middle of nowhere. Whether it was milk or oatmeal, there was no way he could make them for Kiki. By the way, how are you going to settle your dinner? Poplar Fruit nudged Cheonjuan and asked. There's a village at the foot of the mountain. We've booked the farmhouse in the village. There are 2 big courtyards. The people here are quite nice. They've prepared food for us. We can eat when we go back, Cheonjuan said with a smile. So that's how it is. Poplar Fruit nodded. He smiled and said to the beast next to him. Kiki said she's hungry. Why don't I go down the mountain with her first? I have to cook something for her. She can't digest adult food. The beast nodded and said with a smile. No problem. I'll let Xiao Gu go down with you. She's a girl. She won't be of much help if she stays up here. Xiao Gu agreed readily. Then she led Poplar Fruit down the mountain. At this time, Kiki saw that the sky was dark and the mountain wind was rustling in all directions. She was scared and hugged her father tightly, refusing to let anyone else hold her. Xiao Gu had to give up. She wanted to help Poplar Fruit pull the suitcase. In the end, the extra-large suitcase was not something a petite girl like Xiao Gu could handle. It was very difficult to pull the suitcase. Seeing Poplar Fruit easily lift it with one hand, Xiao Gu opened her mouth. She did not expect Poplar Fruit to be so strong. Instead, she lamented that she was a tough girl but had a delicate body. The farmhouse cost 500 yuan a day. Food and accommodation were included. There were a total of 20 people in the crew. On average, each person cost less than 50 yuan. It was very cheap. Of course, it was impossible to have a room for one person. There were few girls, so they were a little more relaxed. For men, 5 or 6 people could squeeze in a room or sleep in the car. Anyway, it was hot in summer, and they were not afraid of catching a cold. Poplar Fruit borrowed the kitchen of the courtyard where the girls' room was located. He began to choose ingredients. The big freezer was filled with vegetables and fruits given by the host. These were all homegrown and could be eaten and used as much as they wanted. There was also a lot of chicken and pork in the smaller freezer. Poplar Fruit could not help but sigh. The countryside was so good. There was plenty of delicious food. Look at the bright and plump tomatoes, the cabbage with wormholes, and the pork and chicken in the freezer were all raised in the countryside. They were all green and pollution-free ingredients. It was rare to see them in big cities. By the way, Xiao Gu. Before Poplar Fruit was ready to eat, he took out a stack of about a few thousand yuan from his pocket and said to her, "Can you help me rent another courtyard next door? Kiki and I may have a room to ourselves." Isn't that too much? Isn't it enough to rent one room? Why do you need a courtyard? There are 3 rooms in a courtyard, Xiao Gu said exaggeratedly with her northeastern accent. It's okay. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, "Aren't you very crowded? The rooms I have are just enough for everyone to live in. Go, don't disturb me when I'm cooking." Xiao Gu wanted to decline, but Poplar Fruit pushed her out with a smile. Back in the kitchen, Poplar Fruit looked at so many vegetables and felt that the kitchen knife in his hand was a little thirsty. However, if he made too much, Kiki would not be able to finish it. If he made too little, he felt like he had entered a treasure mountain, but returned empty-handed. Poplar Fruit rolled his eyes. That's right, There were still more than 20 people in the crew. He might as well add more dishes for them. Poplar Fruit had seen the crew's dishes. They were SOSO, hand-torn cabbage, stir-fried meat with cucumber, and scrambled eggs with bitter gourd. The only thing that was passable was a braised fish, which was made at a very low level. However, Poplar Fruit also knew that the uncles and aunties in the countryside helped to make the dishes. They were all homemade skills, so he could not ask for more. However, now that Poplar Fruit was here, he could not let these high-quality ingredients go to waste. First, he lit a fire for Kiki's porridge. Poplar Fruit turned around with a smile and touched Kiki's little head, who was sitting on the suitcase behind him. He winked at her with his right eye, stretched out his right face, and said, "Kiki, Papa is going to show his skills. Come, give Papa a reward." Kissing her father, Kiki clapped her little hands and said with a smile, "Papa makes delicious food, hee." Encouraged by his daughter, Poplar Fruit was in high spirits. He rolled up his sleeves and shouted, "It's showtime." Chapter 390. Open the courtyard door. A loud shout was heard, and the courtyard door was opened by two men who jumped out of the car. The crew's car slowly drove in. The crew had a total of 3 cars, a minibus for people, a small pickup truck for transporting filming equipment and other equipment, and a small van that had just driven in. It was convenient to drive on the mountain road, and it could be used for emergencies, such as picking up and dropping off anyone. Otherwise, who would need a minibus to do something in the city? It was too wasteful. Just as Yaoshou and the others jumped out of the van, Xiaogu came up to them with a smile and said, "Just now Mr. Yang booked a new courtyard. You guys don't have to squeeze together to pick up soap anymore. Are you feeling a little disappointed?" "Xiaogu, I think you're wrong," said the man righteously. "What do you mean squeezing together to pick up soap? We're hugging each other and sacrificing for our career." By the way, the man suddenly frowned and looked at Xiaogu, who was covering her mouth and laughing, and asked, "What did you just say? Poplar Fruit rented another courtyard? Why did you say that to him? It's not a problem for us to squeeze together to sleep. Don't make him pay again. Don't think we're a black-hearted crew." Xiaogu felt wronged. She pouted and said, "Who said I tricked him into renting it? It's obvious that he wanted to rent it himself. I advised him." Qianjuan just came over and heard the conversation between the man and Xiaogu. He laughed and said, "I thought something big happened. So it's like this. Come on man, don't blame Xiaogu. It must be Poplar Fruit who forced Xiaogu to do it. Don't be shy. Anyway, it's already rented." Qianjuan laughed and said, "Poplar Fruit is rich. A few thousand yuan is nothing to him. He can earn it back in minutes as a translator." As a friend of Poplar Fruit, Qianjuan did not pursue the matter any further. He was broad-minded. After blaming Xiaogu wrongly, he immediately apologized to her. "I'm sorry, Xiaogu. I didn't investigate clearly before I blamed you. I'm sorry." "Hey, what's the big deal?" Xiaogu waved his hand generously, indicating that it was fine. "By the way, where is Poplar Fruit?" Qianjuan asked curiously. "Why don't I see him? Could it be that he's packing up in the new compound?" "No, he's in the kitchen." Xiaogu turned around and pointed at the kitchen that was only covered by a curtain. "You're still not done? It's time to eat." Qianjuan looked at his watch and said, "I'll call him. I'll go over and thank him as well." The beasts laughed. Before they even got close to the kitchen, they heard the sound of vegetables being chopped like a storm. "So fierce?" Qianjuan opened his mouth in surprise. "Poplar Fruit can't be using a kitchen knife to practice kung fu, right? Let's go and take a look," the beast said excitedly. Xiaogu walked in front. She pulled open the curtain and walked into the steamy kitchen. "Sister Xiaogu." Kiki was the first to notice her. She happily threw herself at her. Because Kiki had gotten her wish to touch the big bald head of the beast, Kiki now had a very good impression of Sister Xiaogu. Xiaogu giggled as he picked Chi-Chi up. Her attention was all on Kiki, but the beast was the first to notice that Poplar Fruit was struggling to cut up a pile of vegetables in front of him. Although it was said that he was struggling, in fact, Poplar Fruit didn't use much strength. His hands were very steady, and the sound of the kitchen knife on the chopping board became a string, like an assembly line machine. His left hand pushed an eggplant that had been cut in half under the kitchen knife, and the other side had already been cut into small pieces of uniform size. Wow. Cheonjuan was the last to come in. He smiled and said, "Poplar fruit, what are you doing? Practicing the knife skills of cutting vegetables and melons?" Poplar fruit pulled the cut vegetables into the basket and washed them with water. At the same time, he poured oil into the pot and threw in 2 cloves of garlic. A rich aroma burst out. He smiled without turning his head and said, "Is it time to eat? Don't worry, wait a minute, I'll be done soon. Today, I'll add more dishes." "You know how to cook?" Cheonjuan asked the beast's question. The beast looked at Poplar fruit in surprise. The big boy in front of him who wore a scarf and worked diligently and methodically. Was he really an executive of a big company with a market value of hundreds of millions? "Papa's cooking is delicious." Kiki, who was being held by Xiaogu, heard Cheonjuan's question and retorted with dissatisfaction. Soon Cheonjuan and the others would no longer have any doubts. They saw Poplar fruit pour the cut potatoes into the pot. He poured 3 plates of potatoes, stir-fried them with a long iron spatula, and then scooped them up. What happened next shocked and convinced them wholeheartedly. 5 or 6 cut eggplants were poured into the pot. Poplar fruit held the handle of the pot, which weighed more than 5 kilograms, with his left hand holding a cloth, and began to shake it flexibly over the fire. With so many ingredients, the beast felt that it would be difficult for him to stir-fry them with an iron spatula, let alone shake them. However, Poplar fruit could easily shake them with one hand. The glossy eggplants flew into the air in groups, then rolled and steadily fell back into the pot. Such a big scene was probably not easy to see even in a big hotel, right? The most difficult thing to control when stir-frying a big pot was the heat and taste. But Poplar fruit controlled it very well. So many eggplants were fried in the oil until each one was golden and glossy. Next, he added potatoes and green peppers to stir-fry. Among them, he had a lot of seasonings at his fingertips and added them as he pleased. At this time, the beast and the others would no longer question Poplar fruit's cooking. At first glance, they could tell that he was a chef. How could his food be bad? By the way, what's that pot next to it? When Poplar fruit divided the stir-fry into different plates, the beast curiously pointed to the pot that was simmering with a lid and asked, "Red braised pork, almost done." Poplar fruit said with a smile. He reached out to adjust the pot and let it collect the juice on high heat. As soon as he opened the lid, the smell of meat immediately filled the air. A pot of fat but not greasy, full of juice, and attractive red braised pork was out of the pot. The beast swallowed hard and nudged Cheonjuan, who was also drooling, and said, "Quick, go and call everyone over. Gather all the food from the 2 courtyards together. We're in for a treat today." Slurp. "Today we would like to thank Mr. Yang for making such a sumptuous meal for us. Cheers, everyone." At the big round table, the beast, who was the leader of the crew, raised his cup and shouted, "Cheers." Everyone in the crew raised their cups to greet Poplar fruit. "Thank you, everyone. With tea in place of wine, I also wish that our movie this time will be a success and hit 100 million views overnight." Poplar fruit stood up and said with a smile, "Haha." The laughter at the table could not stop. Some people said that if one wanted to integrate into a circle, it would take a lot of effort, and sometimes the results would not be ideal. Poplar fruit felt that Wan Hitiani's group of friends were too cute. They were bought over with just a meal, haha. Chapter 391. Poplar fruit had been fooling around with this group of immoral people for 2 days. Unknowingly, his moral integrity was almost gone. Fortunately, with Kiki watching over him, Poplar fruit still held on to his last bit of bottom line. After his mood improved, Poplar fruit also adjusted his mentality. Poplar fruit now understood Fong Beibei's rejection. True love was not easy. It should be slow and steady. Impatience should not come. Moreover, he believed in his own feelings. He also believed that Fong Beibei had feelings for him. It was just 2 months. Happiness was a matter of a lifetime. If he could not even wait for 2 months, how could he wait forever? There was one thing that made Poplar fruit quite depressed. He had come 2 days early and had not been scheduled for his scenes. Instead, Kiki had succeeded in playing a small role. She was cute, innocent, and had a sweet mouth. Kiki had already become the happy fruit of the entire crew. When the filming started, she and her father sat at the side to watch the uncles and aunties' performances. When the filming came to an end, she ran in front of Xiao Gu with a smile and vividly reenacted Xiao Ji's performance just now. Everyone was very amused. Xiao Gu had an idea and asked the scriptwriters to think of a red boy joke at night. He forcibly added a scene for Kiki. Red boy. Thus, Kiki began her first appearance on camera. Needless to say, Kiki's performance was still very eye-catching. Although Xiao Gu spent a lot of time explaining the scene to her, when it really started filming, she was very good in front of the camera. With one hand holding the metal ring, which was actually made of plastic, and the other hand on her waist, such a cute little person raised her nose and stared at the camera. She vividly displayed her fearless aura. Perhaps it was because Kiki was a child and might not be as patient as an adult, or perhaps it was because Kiki's acting was really good. Zimo, who was staring at the monitor, actually let Kiki pass with one sentence. Kiki indeed only had one scene. Xiao Gu and the others did not have the domineering attitude to casually push the little Kiki, who had never acted before, into an important supporting role. Kiki's sentence would be cut into 1 or 2 seconds of footage, forming a highlight with the other scenes of Wang Dachui being bullied by monsters. After filming, Poplar Fruit took a photo of Kiki in her red boy costume and posted it on Weibo with a smile. Kiki has made a cameo appearance in a short movie. Is everyone looking forward to it? In less than half a day, the photo of Kiki as the valiant red boy was forwarded by tens of thousands of people. It was so cute that Kiki's fans were almost melted by her cuteness. On the third day, it was Poplar Fruit's turn to appear. After watching for so long, Poplar Fruit was a little itchy and could not wait to go on stage. His first scene was filmed in the village. It was the scene where Wang Dachui was deceived before he transmigrated. Now that the villages in the suburbs of Beijing were also very rich, the village roads had been turned into flat cement roads. Coupled with the walls of the houses, it looked similar to the hutongs in Beijing. There was no need for the film crew to return to Beijing to film the scenes. There would be an inner monologue of Wang Dachui, but it would be added in the post-production. Therefore, the camera started with Wang Dachui's dazed expression. At this moment, Wang Dachui was still wearing a formal suit. Although he still looked like a loser, at least he looked like a decent human being. However, when the camera moved to the basketball shoes on his feet, his poor background was exposed. At this time, Wang Dachui, a young man from the countryside who had just graduated, was struggling to find a job. As he walked, the great conman played by Poplar Fruit jumped out from the other side of the hutongs and grabbed Wang Dachui's hand. "Cut!" Zimo shouted and walked over helplessly. He said, "Poplar Fruit, this is not how you should act. Don't hold back your laughter. You have to act like a great conman who pretends to be serious, but can be seen through at a glance." I'm sorry. Let's do it again. I'll correct it immediately." During this scene, Poplar Fruit had NGs several times. If it were not for the fact that the micromovie was not shot with a traditional film camera, God knows how much money Poplar Fruit had spent from the film crew. On the way to the interview, Wang Dachui's arm was suddenly grabbed by the great conman played by Poplar Fruit. "What are you doing?" Wang Dachui asked exaggeratedly and fearfully. "Bro, do you want the film?" Poplar Fruit gave a wretched, "You know what I mean" expression. Cut. Zimo walked over again and said seriously, "Poplar Fruit, what's with your expression? Is this wretched? Come, Beast, make a wretched expression for him to see." After watching Beast's performance, Poplar Fruit muttered in his heart, "Of course I know how to be wretched, but I just can't grasp the extent of it." He was used to being serious, so it was very difficult for him to act wretchedly. If it were Song Jiwen, he wouldn't even need to act wretched. Poplar Fruit failed several times again. This time, the whole crew was scratching their heads. They couldn't go on like this. Compared to the others, including Kiki, Poplar Fruit's acting talent could be said to be at the bottom. Over the past few days, Che and Jiwen, Baiku, Zimo, and a few other members of the crew who acted very well had taught Poplar Fruit a lot of tips and tricks. However, just like how you can't live a good life even after listening to a lot of advice, Poplar Fruit still found it difficult to show the expression of a great conman on his face. He could control almost every muscle in his body, but when it came to the combination of facial muscles, he was so clumsy that he couldn't even compare to a child. "I've got it." Beast, who had been silent at the side, snapped his fingers and walked over. "Poplar fruit. Weren't your expressions not on point? I have an idea." "Don't keep me in suspense. What's your idea?" When he was the director, Zimo had a very bad temper. Perhaps this was a common problem among all directors. "If your performance isn't on point, poplar fruit, you'll be offside," Beast said jokingly. "Offside?" Poplar fruit was even more confused. "Wasn't that a football term?" "That's a good idea." Zimo's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "The offside that Beast mentioned is something he made up himself. What he means is that since you can't accurately express the emotions of the character, you can exaggerate a little." Seeing that Poplar Fruit still did not quite understand, Zimo gestured to Poplar Fruit and explained, "For example, if I want to play a female role and I can't portray the gentleness of a woman, I might as well act more seductively and flirtatiously. Look." Zimo turned sideways and pulled up the sleeves of his t-shirt, revealing his thin shoulders. Then, with a flick of his slightly long hair, he threw a seductive wink and even blinked as if there was electricity in his eyes. For a man to show such flirtatious charm, he was just like a prostitute in a nightclub. "Ha!" Beast and Baiki hugged each other and laughed so hard that they almost fell to the ground. Beast shouted, "Zimo, I've decided. In the next movie, I'll definitely let you play the female lead." "Oh my god, this is too demonic." Chapter 392. Make it a little more exaggerated. Poplar Fruit pondered as he pulled Baiku over to give it a try. "Bro, do we need to perform divination on the film?" Poplar Fruit leaped up and hugged Baiku as though he had appeared out of thin air. He stuck his head out from behind Baiku's shoulder and made a very exaggerated and wretched look. His wretched look looked very fake, but Zimo and the others all clapped. "All right, that's the effect we want." Unexpectedly, was not a movie in the traditional sense, nor was it an artistic microfilm. Its starting point was to be funny, and the funnier it was, the more the audience would like it. It did not matter if the expression was a little exaggerated. That was what made it funny. "All right, director, I'm ready. Let's officially start filming," Poplar Fruit said confidently. He also understood the requirements of Zimo and the others. Although he might not be able to act properly, Poplar Fruit was still very confident that he could make it a little more exaggerated. After solving the problem with his acting, Poplar Fruit's number of NGs started to decrease significantly. Baiku and the others would often forget their lines or mix up their lines, but Poplar Fruit did not have any problems with that at all. "Film? What film?" Wang Dachui asked in a daze. According to the script, Baiku would have an inner monologue. Could it be one of those embarrassing films? How did I get to encounter such a good thing? "Tui, I'm sorry. The great hoodwinker smiled sheepishly and said, "I misspoke. It's a problem with my previous profession." "Then what exactly are you selling?" Wang Dachui was getting a little impatient. "Good stuff, it's definitely good stuff." The great hoodwinker took out a machine the size of a 7-inch tablet from somewhere and said mysteriously, "The Universal Translation Machine. Of all the languages in the world, there's nothing it can't translate except for those that you can't think of." "Really?" Wang Dachui said as though he was looking at a scammer. "You're not lying to me, right?" "Why would I lie to you?" the great hoodwinker said in all seriousness. But in reality his inner monologue was, "Of course you're obviously a fool with a lot of money. I'm definitely lying to you, hee 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 hee." "Look." The great hoodwinker showed it to Wang Dachui. "There's a logo here. You know about Shinda, right? We're a big translation company, and we produce products from Shinda. Everything is of the highest quality, and we don't cheat anyone. Just $9.98, just $998, and you can take it home immediately." He pressed a button, and Poplar Fruit and Baiku pretended to point at the void. The special effects here would be projected onto a screen, projecting another appearance of Poplar Fruit. "Why is it still you?" Wang Dachui said unhappily. "You can change it. What type do you like?" "Princess." "Me." The great hoodwinker nudged Wang Dachui with his shoulder and said with a sly smile. Following that, the great hoodwinker started speaking in several languages. Minasang, you're in a hurry. Ayurseo. Sawadika. Bonjour. Namaste. The universal translation machine would provide a Chinese translation. It could also be reversed. When the great hoodwinker spoke Chinese, he could immediately translate it into the languages of other countries. It's that powerful? Wang Dachui drooled. He muttered to himself happily, with a divine weapon like this, it looks like it won't be long before I get promoted, get a raise, become the general manager, become the CEO, marry a rich and beautiful woman, and reach the pinnacle of my life. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. It's that powerful and that cool. Just $9.98, just $9.98, and the factory will sell it directly. Once you miss this opportunity, you won't get this price anymore. The great hoodwinker continued to try his best to swindle him. 998? But I only have 1,000 yuan on me. Wang Dachui took out 10 bills from his pocket in a daze. Before he could finish, the great hoodwinker snatched the money from him and said with a chuckle, 1,000 yuan it is. Keep the change. What do you mean keep the change? You're clearly the one who needs to give the change to them, all right? After that, he stuffed the machine into Wang Dachui's hands and disappeared in a flash. Wang Dachui wanted to cry, but had no tears to shed. He stood where he was and stretched out his right hand. Choking with sobs, he continued what he had not finished saying. Give me a discount of 2 yuan. I want 2 yuan to take the subway. His voice was heart-wrenching and pitiful. And the incoherent mathematical algorithm was also a joke. After that, Wang Dachui stood dejectedly on the roof. The gloomy sunset shone on him as sad music played. Wang Dachui held the machine in his hands, and suddenly realized it was just a tape recorder that looked like a tablet. Everything had been recorded beforehand. I've been cheated of all my money and failed the interview. How am I going to earn enough money to marry Xiaomei in the future? I might as well die. Sigh. But it's so high. I'm afraid of heights. I might as well go back, take a shower, and sleep. Wang Dachui did want to go back, but just as he turned around, he accidentally slipped and fell down the stairs. I don't want to die. Wang Dachui struggled as he fell. If you don't want to die, you won't die. The Buddhist voice came out of nowhere. Suddenly, a dazzling light burst out from the machine and covered the crying Wang Dachui. Then he disappeared. At this time his classic monologue rang out. My name is Wang Dachui. I never thought I would find a job. The mysterious machine sent Wang Dachui to ancient times. On the way he met the handsome Tang Sanzang, who was called a beast. He learned that if he wanted to go back to the modern world, he had to obediently follow Tang Sanzang to seek scriptures. Then they found the hot-tempered Sun Wukong, who was imprisoned under the Five Fingers Mountain, and the timid Zhu Beiji, who was seducing beauties at Gaolao village. The adorable Wang Dachui was finally reduced to the third junior brother. Then they began a messy journey to the west. During this journey, not only were there classic plots like Womanland, but there were also scenes where they got lost in various countries. There were many new and interesting jokes in the script. Some were ridicule, and some were imitations. For example, in India, the film crew even made up a strange Indian dance. Although the people from those countries were all played by the film crew, when they spoke strange foreign languages, Poplar Fruit would dub the voices. Then, Wang Dachui would take out the machine that had turned into a wooden board. What was amazing was that the machine could operate on its own. Although it wouldn't show a screen, a special sound effect would appear every time it was turned on. Shinda translation, Shinda translation. The machine could translate the words of the other party into words, and then translate them. What Wang Dachui didn't know was that the translation was actually done by a human. When the camera turned, they could see Poplar Fruit, who was hanging from a beam above his head, bitterly translating for them in another time and space. Poplar Fruit didn't have many scenes. Including the last video, he had only appeared for less than 2 minutes. However, in these 2 minutes, Poplar Fruit, who wasn't skilled enough, still had to NG many times. It took him a day and a half to finish filming. You finished filming your scenes. The beast smiled at him. Congratulations, congratulations. Thank you. Poplar Fruit said with a smile. This is the first time in my life. Thank you for your tolerance. However, I still have work to do, right? I remember that you said you wanted to dub the voices. Yes, the beast said with a smile. But the dubbing can only be done after you've finished filming and edited into a film. So, for at least a week, you don't have anything to do here. Chapter 393. Poplar fruit scenes were done. Calling Beast meant that he was free to play and do whatever he wanted. The crew still needed to film for a few more days before they could finish shooting the entire micro-movie. Speaking of which, this speed was already very fast. It wasn't as troublesome as a regular movie. A micro-movie was only a few dozen minutes long. Moreover, Calling Beast's movie relied on comedy as its selling point. The setting and props weren't that important. For example, the five-finger mountain that suppressed Sun Wukong was so crudely made that it made people's hair stand on end. It was a short mountain made of foam with black sand and stones stuck on the outside. Then, a few random blades of grass were stuck on it, and a hole was dug out for Sun Wukong to stick his head out. Anyone could see the flaws in it. However, it was this crudely made five-finger mountain that became one of the jokes of the micro-movie. Poplar Fruit couldn't help but want to laugh every time he saw the five-finger mountain that was put aside after he finished using it. He even imitated Sun Wukong and stuck his head in it for Cheon-juan to take a picture of him. It was a bit off topic. However, Calling Beast's micro-movie took less than 3 weeks to shoot. It was very efficient. Even so, Poplar Fruit estimated that he would have to wait another 6 or 7 days. This was because after shooting, there would be editing and special effects. The dubbing would be recorded for the final video. Therefore, Calling Beast was worried that Poplar Fruit would be very busy as an executive, so he gave him a break. No need. Poplar Fruit laughed. I don't want to fly back to Yangcheng and then fly back a few days later. It's too troublesome. I don't know where to go in Beijing. It's summer vacation now and Beijing is full of people. I might as well stay with you guys. If there's anything I can help. Poplar Fruit stayed with the crew. Actually, it wasn't boring on the set. This group of people laughed all day and were very funny. Occasionally, they would come up with a joke that would make you hold your stomach and laugh for a long time. The only one who missed home was Kiki. Whenever night fell, she would always be by her father's side. She always felt that something strange and terrifying would jump out of this strange environment. Only holding her father's hand was the safest. However, at this time, the weakness in her heart would show itself. She would be talking about Jean Z for a while, then Bei Bei for a while. She would even talk about Uncle Mosquito and her grandparents. It was as if a few days of not seeing each other felt like 3 years. Let your Uncle Mosquito take care of the gold, so you don't have to worry. How about I ask Uncle Mosquito to take a video for you to see? Poplar Fruit was always very considerate and comforting this daughter. Usually at this time, a gentle kiss from Poplar Fruit could make Kiki smile through tears. This trick worked every time. Poplar Fruit even suspected that the little guy was pretending to be pitiful to win his father's love. Something interesting happened in the film crew. During the lunch break, Cheon-juan ran over and said, "Poplar Fruit, do me a favor." "What favor?" Poplar Fruit asked with a smile. "Let's have a spar and have a fight?" Cheon-juan chuckled and said, "Don't hold back. Have a real fight with me. Of course, don't use too much strength. Just defeat me." Poplar Fruit looked at him suspiciously and asked, "What do you want?" If Cheon-juan didn't know how good his kung fu was, then Poplar Fruit could still understand. But he knew. In the past he had been beaten up by Poplar Fruit and had no strength to fight back. Now he wanted him to fight with him without holding back. Wasn't he looking for trouble? He had heard of begging for money and food, but he had never heard of anyone asking for a beating. Intuitively, Poplar Fruit knew that this guy was up to something. Seeing that Poplar Fruit was doubting him, Cheon-juan smiled and said, "It's like this. I told them that you were very good, but they didn't believe me. Since there's no proof, let's show them what you're made of and let them know how powerful you are." It's not just that, right? Poplar Fruit shook his head. He didn't believe that Cheon-juan would be so kind as to let him beat him up just to prove himself. Poplar Fruit didn't buy it, so Cheon-juan had to tell him everything. "Actually, they didn't believe me. Then I told them. You don't believe me, right? Then I'll fight with poplar fruit. If I win, you guys will treat me to a meal. If I lose, I'll treat you guys to a meal. They still didn't believe me and insisted that I fight for real, not acting. Hey, what are you guys whispering about? Baiku, who was sitting opposite them, laughed and shouted, "Don't collude. Collusion is invalid." Poplar Fruit smiled and shook his head. He said to Cheonjuan, "Forget it. It's such a boring thing, and you still want to trick your teammates?" He knew that Cheonjuan was very cunning. He must have acted to make others think that he was bluffing, so he swore to bet with him. "How is this cheating my teammates?" Cheonjuan shook his head and said, "It's obvious that they don't believe me." In order to get food and drink, Cheonjuan begged without any integrity. "Boss, I'll call you boss, okay? Help me." Poplar Fruit smiled and hooked Cheonjuan's head with one hand, and pulled him to the open space in the middle of everyone. Oh, there was also a genius from B-Box who improvised a song. "Oh, let's go. Come, come, come. Place your bets. Accept your loss." Cheonjuan laughed and turned the happy atmosphere into a casino. "Bet your ass." Poplar Fruit laughed and scolded. Kiki was sleeping in the car, so Poplar Fruit could casually say some rude words. This gave a refreshing feeling in the northern crew. "How about this? I'll remake the rules. If I lose, I'll treat. If old Che loses, he'll treat everyone. What do you guys think?" Poplar Fruit said with a smile. "How can that be?" Cheonjuan's face turned green. A few people cheered, but there were still many people who calmly analyzed the problem. When they saw Poplar Fruit's fearless expression and Cheonjuan's confident expression, they began to mutter in their hearts, "Is Poplar Fruit really a master?" Behind them, under everyone's cheering, Cheonjuan looked at Poplar Fruit with hidden bitterness, waved his hand like a hoodlum, and said, "Okay, I'll treat you. Let's go, I admit defeat." However, he was still pushed back by everyone. Admitting defeat without a fight was unacceptable. Everyone's hearts were itching for a fight. The result was very clear. Even though Cheonjuan put in a lot of effort and threw out punches and kicks, even though Yonggwa only used less than 30% of her strength, and was purely teasing Cheonjuan, Cheonjuan still lost miserably. Yonggwa used a very flashy Tai Chi kick that was similar to a scorpion's tail, and kicked Cheonjuan to the ground. Everyone was really convinced. Although they weren't professionals and didn't know much about martial arts, they could see that Cheonjuan was in a difficult situation despite his efforts, and Poplar Fruit was still relaxed. Everyone could see that Cheonjuan was telling the truth. Poplar Fruit was really a master. Chapter 394. Poplar Fruit wanted to relax for 2 days, but he received a call from Zheng Yujie the day after he finished filming his scenes. Seeing that it was Zheng Yujie calling, Poplar Fruit felt a little guilty. He had been in Beijing for so long, but he hadn't told Zheng Yujie about it. Let's not think about it in the wrong way. From the perspective of pure friendship, Poplar Fruit was not being a good friend. "Hello, ahaha." Poplar Fruit laughed dryly and asked, "Why did you suddenly call me? Long time no see." "I've been so busy recently," Zheng Yujie said angrily on the other side of the phone. "It's not like you don't know that I've been working overtime for half a month, because of that stupid book that you're reading. You didn't even call me, so why are you still talking about it?" Ha 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 ha. Poplar Fruit scratched his head, not knowing how to answer. He did know what Zheng Yujie had been busy with recently. Ever since she brought back Poplar Fruit's translation manuscript, the young school had been preparing to launch into the market. Generally speaking, the publishing of a book was not a simple matter. Let's not talk about the previous steps. After Yonggwa translated the manuscript, she still had to go through the process of reviewing the manuscript, declaring the book number, confirming the print run, pricing, typesetting, printing, etc. After the current market, if a publishing house wanted a book to sell well, there would be a series of complicated distribution and marketing activities, such as organizing the author to hold lectures at retail bookstores, signing books, and other new book promotion activities, organizing book critics to publish book reviews, and so on. Every process dragged on for a few days, and in the end, it would take a long time for the book to be successfully published. Not every book could be on the fast track like Leader Qiao's autobiography. and it had green lights all the way. Zheng Yujie listed The Young School as one of Dongxin's most important books of the year, which meant that there would be a lot of marketing activities to do. So, Zheng Yujie had been busy with such things. Every time she thought about how Yangguo threw the books to her like a shopkeeper and went off to do whatever he wanted, Zheng Yujie's heart was filled with resentment. She was so busy that she didn't even get a call from him to comfort her. However, Zheng Yujie wasn't complaining to him. She ignored Poplar Fruit's dry laugh and went straight to the point. Tell me, are you hiding something from me? Hiding what from you? Poplar Fruit's heart was about to jump out of his chest. What else are you hiding from me? Did you secretly come to the capital without telling me? Zheng Yujie asked angrily. Ah. The thing that Yangguo was most worried about had happened. He stammered for a while, then laughed dryly and asked, Didn't I tell you? I thought I told you. Zheng Yujie was silent for a while, and said uncomfortably, You lied to me. You didn't want to tell me at all. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Poplar Fruit suddenly panicked. He had to use dozens of lies to cover up his lie. Poplar Fruit didn't have the talent for lying, so he could only obediently admit his mistake. Don't be angry. I secretly came here. I also have my difficulties. What difficulties? With Zheng Yujie's shrewish personality, she was also aggressive when she spoke. She quickly followed up with another question. It's a long story. Let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. Poplar Fruit wanted to change the topic. How did you find out that I was in Beijing? That's right. How did Zheng Yujie find out? This was the question that Poplar Fruit couldn't figure out. If Poplar Fruit didn't know that Zheng Yujie's character was impetuous and straightforward, he might have thought that Zheng Yujie sent someone to spy on him. Look at your Weibo. Zheng Yujie snorted and said. Weibo. Poplar Fruit was on the phone, so he couldn't open Weibo to look. However, his memory was pretty good. Soon he recalled the scene of him browsing Weibo not long ago. I'm going to faint. Poplar Fruit secretly patted his head. He forgot that when he used his phone to post on Weibo, the app would show the location by default. Then, 2 days ago, Poplar Fruit posted a picture of Kiki dressed up as Red Boy. Although the location shown was a little off, it completely sold out the fact that he was in Beijing. No wonder Zheng Yujie found out. So it's Weibo. Yujie, you really read it carefully. Poplar Fruit wanted to use laughter to adjust the atmosphere. How am I reading it carefully? Zheng Yujie muttered. I didn't notice before. You haven't posted on Weibo for the past few days. I was bored and had to look through your previous Weibo to see it. Counting the time when you posted on Weibo, you should have been in Beijing for 3 or 4 days, right? Zheng Yujie questioned. You've been here for so long and haven't said a word. You don't want to talk to me anymore? No way. Poplar Fruit refused to admit it. He said, I was thinking of looking for you in a few days when I'm free. You're not free now, and I'm also busy shooting the micro-movie. I don't have time. Poplar Fruit could swear to God that this was not a lie. He really did think that in a few days, when the matters in Beijing were settled, he would look for Zheng Yujie for a meal before he went home. Wouldn't it be great if he could find an excuse to get over it? What micro-movie? Zheng Yujie asked. It even made Kiki look like this. However, she did not wait for Poplar Fruit to reply and said, It doesn't need a few days. I happen to be free today. I'll be there soon. We'll talk later. Soon. Poplar Fruit jumped up. You're here? Yeah, I drove here. I just got off the highway in Beijing. Zheng Yujie replied casually. Where are you coming from? Poplar Fruit was not calm. On one hand, he was very nervous about Zheng Yujie's arrival. On the other hand, he was a little worried for Zheng Yujie. It was almost 4:30 in the afternoon. In another hour or two, the sky would be dark. Would it be safe for her to come over at this time? It's XXX in the suburbs. Zheng Yujie gave him an address and said leisurely. Isn't it shown on your Weibo? I have the GPS here. Don't worry. If you don't worry, you're going to run into some mountain ditch. Poplar Fruit complained in his heart. He quickly said to Zheng Yujie, It's not there. Wait a minute. I'll call you later. After Poplar Fruit hung up the phone, He quickly checked the map on his phone. He glanced at it and then called Zheng Yujie. The location on Weibo is fake. The one on Weibo is more than 10 kilometers away from us. Then how do we get there? Zheng Yujie asked. Use the GPS to see if there's Xinghong Soup Village, Poplar Fruit instructed. Yes. Zheng Yujie stopped the car on the side of the road and answered after fiddling with it for a while. Then drive over. I'll borrow a car to pick you up at the entrance of the village, Poplar Fruit said. Poplar Fruit called a beast to pick up the crew's minivan and drove to the entrance of the village. After waiting for a long time, the crew had already come down from the mountain. Zheng Yujie took a lot of detours. When she arrived, it was already dark. Chapter 395. Oh! When Poplar Fruit drove the car into the courtyard with Zheng Yujie, the few clowns who lived in Poplar Fruit's courtyard called out loudly, "What are you yelling for?" Poplar Fruit ran up and pinched the chubby face of Calling Beast. After spending time together for a few days, he had become more familiar with Calling Beast, ZMO, Baiku, and the others. He could even join in and play with them. Nice car, beautiful girl. Baiku put on his classic sluggish face with a wretched smirk and pushed Poplar Fruit. It was indeed a nice car. Zheng Yujie had changed to a BMW X6 that could run a little faster. Although it was not as expensive as the previous Maserati, Zheng Yujie's X6 could almost buy 2 of Poplar Fruit's Land Rovers. Moreover, the white BMW X6's appearance was much softer than Poplar Fruit's Land Rovers. It looked good and generous. Beauty. Zheng Yujie was definitely worthy of the title. Although Zheng Yujie's iconic short hair reduced her looks a lot, her natural beauty was still incomparable to other girls. She had arched eyebrows and almond-shaped eyes. She was beautiful but not charming. She also had the elegance of a lady from a wealthy family. All of a sudden, the begonia flowers planted in the courtyard paled in comparison. Hello everyone. After getting out of the car, Zheng Yujie did not feel shy at all. Instead, she smiled and greeted Calling Beast and the others. Sorry for the delay on the road. I've kept everyone waiting. Auntie, Kiki, who was in Poplar Fruit's arms, could not hold back anymore. She cheered and greeted Zheng Yujie. Although Zheng Yujie and Feng Beibei did not spend a lot of time together, Zheng Yujie often bought delicious and fun things for Kiki, especially the electronic keyboard Zheng Yujie bought for Kiki on her birthday. When Kiki was at home, she often asked her father to take it out to play. Seeing Zheng Yujie, she would receive a gift. Of course, Kiki was happy. Poplar Fruit, come and help me move the things, Zheng Yujie called out. What did you buy this time? Poplar Fruit complained about Zheng Yujie's extravagance. Nothing, Zheng Yujie smiled and said. I guess that you went to the suburbs to film. The conditions are tough and there is nothing delicious, so I packed 5 roast ducks from the cheap shop. What did I hear? Roast ducks. Lao Kong from the special effects team, who had sharp ears, had just come in through the door when he heard the fragrance. He trotted over while salivating. Lao Shou could not wait anymore. He squeezed over from behind Baiku and said, Roast ducks? And the cheap ones? They are old brands. Do you get a share? Of course. Zheng Yujie smiled and said. I bought them for everyone. But before I came here, I didn't know how many people you have, so I only bought 5. Put them in the thermal pot they gave you. They should still be hot. If they are not hot, I'll ask Poplar Fruit to cook them for you. Not a small number, not a small number. Lao Shou smiled and said. Those guys finished their meal as soon as they came back. Later, each courtyard will send 1.5 roast ducks to them as supper. We will take care of the remaining 2. Look at how nice we are. We will wait for Poplar Fruit to come back and eat together. Good people will be rewarded. TSK, you call yourself a good person. Who was the one who said that Poplar Fruit would cook a big meal tonight, and would rather die than eat box lunches? Zhang Binyu mercilessly exposed Lao Shou's lie. That's not wrong at all. Follow Poplar Fruit and there will be delicious food every day, Lao Shou said shamelessly. Phew. Everyone expressed their strong disdain for Lao Shou's flattery. However, Zheng Yujie's arrival did bring a lot of fresh air to the crew. Zheng Yujie was far better at socializing than Poplar Fruit. With just a few words, She made Lao Shou and the others feel closer to her. Furthermore, she was generous and gave 5 Beijing roast ducks as a gift. The foodies in the crew who fell under the skirt of delicious food all treated Zheng Yujie as a female bodhisattva. As for Poplar Fruit, although he also made a lot of delicious food and shared it with everyone, Zheng Yujie was still a beauty. Unfortunately, the gap between Poplar Fruit and Zheng Yujie had widened. The only person who had reservations about Zheng Yujie's appearance was the silent Cheonjuan. Don't forget, Cheonjuan had secretly taken photos of Poplar Fruit for a period of time. He knew that Poplar Fruit had 2 devastatingly beautiful women by his side in Yangcheng. Either one of those 2 would be the most dazzling existence in a crowd, but they were very close to Poplar Fruit. They were so close that Cheonjuan felt that there was a story behind it. Although he often used the wrong angle to take some ambiguous photos to achieve the desired effect of the client, he didn't think that the 2 beauties in Yangguo were like his other clients who looked ambiguous, but were actually very pure. There must be something going on between Poplar Fruit and them. That was what Cheonjuan thought from the bottom of his heart. However, he still felt that he guessed correctly. Now there was another one. And it was a very rich beauty. Her temperament was extraordinary. At the very least, she was a rich second generation. Thinking about a special big city like Beijing, she might even be some rich second generation. Cheonjuan didn't dare to think about it anymore. This beauty seemed to have a very deep relationship with Poplar Fruit. Cheonjuan could tell that although Poplar Fruit still looked serious, the way the beauty looked at Poplar Fruit was not serious at all. Cheonjuan knew that he wasn't a moralist who flaunted morality, but Poplar Fruit's treatment was really enviable. A person should be like Boss Yang, leading the left and supporting the right, spurring the horse with the whip, and shooting the eagle with the bow. Cheonjuan sighed with envy in his heart. After everyone had eaten their fill, Zheng Yujie asked curiously, "I heard from Poplar Fruit that you guys are shooting a micro-movie. What is it about?" "Haha, it's about a poor Diao who transmigrates back to journey to the west and has a funny journey," Baiku explained. "How can it be as boring as you say?" Baiku said disdainfully. "If you were to write an advertisement, we would all be poor. It's like this. We are shooting a super Diao called Wang Dachui, who is our Baiku. He was deceived and transmigrated back to the past. Then he followed Tang Sanzang and his disciples to the west. Along the way, he encountered a lot of strange things, such as, the setting of the story involves humor, transmigration, workplace and other current hot elements. The plot and content are all inclusive. From current hot topics to classic historical stories. We will incorporate them all." "So that's how it is." Zheng Yujie nodded as if she understood. A story told by mouth would definitely not be as good as a video. Baiku still tried his best to get Zheng Yujie to approve of his work. "Our micro-movie will be very fast-paced. It won't be as slow as a normal micro-movie. It will basically imitate the brisk style of Japanese manga." Oh. For Zheng Yujie, who was slightly older, she couldn't really understand Baiku's meaning. She nodded and felt a little perfunctory. Chapter 396. Seeing Zheng Yujie's lack of interest, Poplar Fruit helped to explain. Poplar Fruit was indeed someone who relied on words to make a living. He was very good at telling stories. He picked a few interesting lines and quickly ignited Zheng Yujie's interest. "Ha ha ha ha." Zheng Yujie laughed loudly without caring about her image. She asked, "What happened next? Did Yaosho resist Old Kong's temptation?" Old Kong played the role of the Queen of Womanland. He was worlds apart from the other beautiful maids in Womanland, played by Xiao Gu and the others. This would bring a strong impact of laughter to the audience. Poplar Fruit smiled and shrugged. He said, "I can't reveal too much. When the film is out, you can take a look. Otherwise, what's there to see if there are spoilers?" So mysterious. Zheng Yujie curled her lips and didn't continue to ask. Zheng Yujie was most interested in the industry that Yaosho was in. After all, publishing was almost the same as the media industry. However, Yaosho's industry was different from the media industry. Using the term Zheng Yujie gave, it was called new media. In this aspect, Yaosho and the others from Wanhe were chatting happily with Zheng Yujie. It was as if they had found a soulmate. Poplar Fruit had heard of this term before, but he didn't know much about it. He interjected, "What is new media?" New media is the media form that appears under the support of new technology. For example, digital magazines, digital newspapers, digital radio, mobile text messages, the internet, desktop windows, digital TV, digital movies, touch media, etc. Baiku raised his hand and said, "Oh, but Baiku, why does your explanation sound a bit like the explanation in the internet?" Poplar Fruit asked with a smile. "No way." Baiku laughed dryly and hid his phone under the table. "I think this explanation is more difficult to understand." Zheng Yujie smiled. "In layman's terms, they are different from traditional print media such as newspapers, magazines, radio, and television. They may be an evolution of traditional media, but they rely on new technologies such as network technology and mobile technology to create and provide content for users." "That's right. We mainly deal with online videos." Calling Beast laughed. "We might not be able to appear on TV, and the cinemas might not arrange a schedule for our movies, at least not now. However, we can gain more viewers online than on TV and movies, so we can be considered a new media film company." "Amazing." Poplar Fruit gave him a thumbs up and said, "Although I'm new to this term, our company chose to invest in your advertising because of your popularity and creativity." "Creativity is the core value of new media." Zheng Yujie laughed. "When I was in the United States, I did some research on new media. It's not that I'm a fan of foreign countries, but the new media in the United States is developing much faster than in China. Many of the teams on their video websites operate as commercial companies. What's the role of new media? First, it satisfies people's needs for fragmentation of leisure and entertainment time. It's all because of the faster pace of life, so I won't go into details." Zheng Yujie smiled mischievously and continued, "Then it satisfies people's needs for interactive expression, entertainment, and information anytime and anywhere. For example, in China, I saw the creation of bullet screen video websites. It's more focused on this demand." Poplar Fruit listened and nodded. Calling Beast and the others also agreed. "Just now, I said that creativity is important because people are more active in their choice of media and content. This requires the video to have originality and individuality. If it's not very creative, if it's posted online, people will immediately click and close it when they see the same or imitated parts," Zheng Yujie said. "Then won't the new media industry be very risky?" Poplar Fruit asked. "How do we know that our work won't suit everyone's taste? Moreover, it's hard to satisfy everyone. Isn't this too difficult? The risk is very high." Calling Beast had started his business for 2 years. He was deeply moved. "There are many people who make videos and content in our country, but too many of them are fighting alone." Calling Beast was the same. Before he started his business, he made videos online for 5 years, and he was fighting alone almost all the time. Let's not talk about the great waves washing away the sand. Many people who made videos in YouTube back then are still persevering. Of course, there are also more fresh blood pouring in. This industry is still very prosperous. Haha. Calling Beast was sad for a while, and then laughed. "There aren't many companies and cultures like us," Calling Beast said with certainty. "It's okay. I don't know about others, but one he will definitely become stronger and stronger." Poplar Fruit smiled and comforted Calling Beast. "You have such an excellent team. Everyone can write, act, and direct. They're all talented. Take our old Kong for example. He can do special effects and act as a beauty." Hey, Poplar Fruit, I'm unjustly implicated." Old Kong laughed. When he wasn't acting, he was still very manly. Even his voice was very rough. "That's also thanks to Cinda's trust in us. If not for this 1 million advertising investment, we wouldn't even have enough to eat. How would we have the money to film unexpectedly?" Calling Beast laughed. His words were half true and half false. It was suspected that he was bootlicking. However, it was true that this 1 million was indeed a huge investment for one he at this stage. "Didn't you cooperate with you to this time?" Poplar Fruit laughed. "Once you become famous, you won't have to worry about not having investments in the future. I still have a lot of confidence in you. How about I invest in you?" Zheng Yujie gently put down the cup in her hand and suddenly threw out a heavy bomb. Ah! Everyone looked at Zheng Yujie. A what? Zheng Yujie said casually. Didn't you say that you lack funds? I can invest in you. What nonsense are you talking about? Investment is not child's play. Poplar Fruit couldn't help but tug at her. Didn't you say that he has a lot of prospects? Zheng Yujie looked at Poplar Fruit seriously. She didn't seem to be joking. I believe in your vision. If Calling Beast agrees, I can invest in you. You really want to invest? Calling Beast was a little anxious. How much do you want to invest? Although Cinda's 1 million and U2's strategic investment temporarily solved his urgent needs, they still didn't have much money left in their account. This seriously shackled his development speed. Too many good projects could only exist in the plan. 10 million. Zheng Yujie smiled and said, how many shares of he can be exchanged for? Chapter 397. Everything happened too suddenly. It was like a roller coaster. The scenery changed too quickly, and no one could react in time. If Poplar Fruit was Wang Dachui, he would really want to shout. Never would I have thought that. Zheng Yujie came to look for Poplar Fruit. After dinner, she was moved by Poplar Fruit's description and decided to invest in the beast. 10 million. His assets, both tangible and intangible, did not even add up to 20 million. 10 million was enough to buy 50% of his shares. Of course, the beast and his other two founders would definitely not let Zheng Yujie buy 50% of the shares. The he now was not the he who would become a leader in the industry in the future. A few months ago, he took on a very large production project. As the team was still in the run-in period and overloaded with work, the entire team was on the verge of collapse. The problems of the team, goals, and customer service were all infinitely magnified. This was a difficult hurdle to cross. Fortunately, the appearance of Xinda gave them hope again. Even so, the other two founders of he were still unwilling to sell their shares. After all, this was a business that belonged to them. However, as long as there was enough temptation, one's attitude could change. Zheng Yujie did not force the sale. She only revealed her background a little, and he started to waver. The power of Zheng Yujie's family was mainly concentrated in two areas. On one hand, it was concentrated in the local government where Zheng Yujie's father, Zheng Mingsheng, was currently working. This was the world that Zheng Mingsheng had spent more than 20 years to conquer. In that province, it could be said that the Zheng family's connections were deeply rooted and flourishing. On the other hand, there was the General Administration of Press, which was in charge of all the major media outlets. Although that department was not considered a core department, it was in charge of the country's mouthpiece and entertainment industry. With a stomp of its foot, the entire country would know. The General Administration of Press was old Master Zheng's territory, before he retired. Although they were estranged now, the Zheng family still had relatives who held important positions in it. The reason why Zheng Yujie could become a deputy editor at a big publishing house at such a young age could be said to have a lot to do with the Zheng family's influence in the General Administration of Press. No matter how much the new media ignored the traditional media's communication methods, they could not avoid this great god. There had long been rumors in Beijing that the General Administration of News was going to strengthen the management of online videos, especially the main video websites. Whether this rumor was true or false, anyone with a discerning eye would know that the country's management of video websites was something that would happen sooner or later. For example, many videos were playing around the edges. If they accidentally offended the General Administration of News, not only would the team have to leave, the video website behind them would also not be able to escape. Therefore, knowing that Zheng Yujie had connections in this aspect, his heart began to move. Not to mention whether or not he would have any dealings with the General Administration of News in the future. If he were to build a good relationship with them now, opportunities would definitely come rolling in. What's more, he was now making videos on the internet. Would he not step into the real film industry in the future? Every media person had the dream of putting their work on the big screen. Because of this, that night, after a discussion with the other two founders, they reluctantly agreed to sell 15% of their shares. Any more, and they would not be able to guarantee their control of the shares. If Zheng Yujie managed to convince one of them, she would be able to do whatever she wanted. Who would they cry to? Zheng Yujie did not have to buy one he. As for the proposal given by Calling Beast, Zheng Yujie readily agreed to it. Of the 10 million she invested, 4 million was converted into 10% of Wanhe's shares, and 6 million was used to invest in Wanhe's other projects. The investment here was no longer purely advertising like Cinda. This money was to be invested in the projects, and they would share the profits like business partners. Even so, now it seemed that Zheng Yujie was still at a loss. 4 million in exchange for 15% of the shares. Zheng Yujie did not mind. If it were someone else, they would probably have to find a few lawyers and negotiators to bargain for a few days. What else could they say? Everyone could only silently give her 32 likes in their hearts. Rich people can be capricious. Respect. Poplar Fruit wanted to persuade Zheng Yujie, and he did so secretly. However, seeing how determined she was, Poplar Fruit gave up. Forget it. She has money. Any car is worth so much. Even if she loses it, it won't hurt. Poplar Fruit comforted himself like this. However, was that really the case? That night, Zheng Yujie moved into Poplar Fruit's room under everyone's ambiguous gazes. Of course, they slept separately. There were originally 2 beds in the room. What? Not long after, Poplar Fruit suddenly exclaimed in the room. Poplar Fruit exclaimed because Zheng Yujie suddenly announced that Poplar Fruit also had a share in the 10 million investment. The news came too suddenly. Zheng Yujie acted first and reported later. She promised to invest 10 million, but when she returned to the room, she casually informed Poplar Fruit. Hey, you also want to invest 5 million. We will split the votes 50-50. Why are you shouting so loudly? Aren't you afraid of waking Kiki up? Zheng Yujie asked discontentedly. It's not like I want to eat you. Kiki was already asleep. Unlike at home, she went to bed at 9 o'clock. Now that she was playing outside, Kiki was tired faster. She went to bed early after eating at 8 o'clock. She did not take a shower. When Poplar Fruit carried her to bed, he used a warm wet towel to wipe her body. Sister, didn't you want to invest by yourself? Why did you drag me in? Poplar Fruit lowered his voice and asked sadly. I don't have enough money. Zheng Yujie didn't even blink when she lied. She said matter-of-factly. My money has been frozen by my mother. I only have 5 million yuan left in my private savings and salary savings, so I have to find some investments quickly. So you can help me pay for the remaining 5 million. If it was half a year ago, Zheng Yujie would definitely not ask for 5 million from Poplar Fruit. She knew that Poplar Fruit did not have much savings. However, when she was in Poplar Fruit's hometown, Poplar Fruit said that he earned money from selling games. She knew that Poplar Fruit was also a multi-millionaire. Zheng Yujie's words were half true and half false. Poplar Fruit still foolishly believed her. Zheng Yujie's card was indeed frozen by her mother. However, she was not as miserable as she made herself out to be. She still had tens of millions left in her private savings. Even if she did not mention the money she had left, Zheng Yujie still had an aunt who loved her very much. She was a big boss with a net worth of billions. When she ran out of money, she could ask for as much as she wanted. Zheng Yujie's car was a gift from her aunt. Then why don't you invest 4 million? You can still leave 1 million just in case. Why do you have to puff yourself up at your own cost? Poplar Fruit asked helplessly. Chapter 398. Big brother, if there's a chance to make money, I'll give you a share. Aren't you happy? Zheng Yujie stood barefoot on her bed and patted Poplar Fruit's shoulder condescendingly as she giggled. Zheng Yujie had money and could invest in Wanhetiani herself. However, she didn't want to invest in it herself. She wanted to pull Poplar Fruit in. The reason was very simple. She simply wanted to build a career with Poplar Fruit. After Poplar Fruit told her about how he made money from selling games, Zheng Yujie felt a sense of crisis. Actually, it could also be described as jealousy. She felt that she really didn't have many chances to interact with Poplar Fruit. Even her love rival, Fong Beibei, could design games with Poplar Fruit and make money. Although she didn't put Poplar Fruit's 18 million in her eyes, The sweet expression on Poplar Fruit's face when he told her the story strongly stimulated Zheng Yujie. No matter what, she had to pull Poplar Fruit into her career. Only then would Poplar Fruit look at her in a higher light. Zheng Yujie thought so. Translating books was only a job requirement. She put in a lot of effort to make money for the publishing house. Therefore, Zheng Yujie felt that this wasn't a career. Now there was an opportunity. Poplar Fruit was optimistic about Wan Hetiani, and this industry was also optimistic about Zheng Yujie. If the two of them invested together, Zheng Yujie felt that it was a very happy thing. Regardless of success or failure, the two of them were walking hand in hand on this road. How can you tell that it's profitable? Poplar Fruit asked helplessly. Profitability in the video industry has always been a big problem. Didn't you say that you were optimistic about Wan Hetiani's model when you introduced it? Zheng Yujie used Poplar Fruit's words to refute Poplar Fruit. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid to invest in people casually. That's a nouveau riche. Zheng Yujie patiently explained to Poplar Fruit. I've seriously considered it. First, because we have a very creative team. We can provide the audience with the content they want to watch. Second, we can target customers for advertisers through content positioning. Third, the scarcity of high-quality content resources has always been the focus of video websites. We can cooperate with the platform to provide exclusive high-quality content for the platform. Finally, as the content operator, we can continue to develop. Isn't this profitable? But Yang Guo was very conflicted as she stammered. Poplar Fruit was now very depressed. These were the words he said when he praised Wanha. Now that Zheng Yujie had gathered all the fragmented points and returned them to him, Poplar Fruit didn't know how to refute. It wasn't that he wasn't optimistic about the investment in Wanha. Perhaps in a few years, this investment could really make a lot of profit, but Poplar Fruit really didn't want to spend money at this juncture. 5 million was a lot, but it wasn't a lot either. Poplar Fruit had $3 million, which was more than 18 million RMB. If this money wasn't earned by him and Fang Beibei, Poplar Fruit would definitely take out 5 million without batting an eyelid. However, Poplar Fruit had promised Fang Beibei to use the money earned by the two of them and try to do as much good as possible. Now that he was investing with Zheng Yujie, if he lost all of it, how would he explain it to Fang Beibei in the future? Taking a step back, if Fang Beibei found out that he came to Beijing with Zheng Yujie and invested money in Zheng Yujie, wouldn't it be another misunderstanding? Poplar Fruit actually thought of this. He felt that his EQ seemed to have improved a lot. However, Zheng Yujie was unhappy. She said discontentedly, "Why are you so hesitant? Are you so conflicted? You are a millionaire. It's only 5 million. Do you still need to think about it?" No. Poplar Fruit sighed, but he found that what Zheng Yujie said was really reasonable. He was speechless. Are you that afraid that I will cheat you of your money? Zheng Yujie felt that she needed to look up at Poplar Fruit while standing. It was a bit strenuous, so she half knelt down. The beds in the north were higher. Like this, the two of them were on the same level. Poplar Fruit shook his head. How about this? Let's just say that you borrowed it from me, okay? Zheng Yujie waved her hand and said, if you earn it, it's on you. If you lose it, it's on me. Poplar Fruit looked into her eyes. Under the illumination of the incandescent lamp, that pair of beautiful eyes was very bright, without a trace of impurity. Through such a pair of eyes, Poplar Fruit could feel her sincerity and desire. His heart softened. Poplar Fruit let go of his obsession. He secretly sighed and said, "No, I will invest too. That's how it should be." Zheng Yujie smiled and patted Poplar Fruit's shoulder. She said, "Be more straightforward. Look, sister has fought for such a good opportunity for you. In a flash, you are also a big boss. Compared to you being a dispensable vice president in Xinda, it's much better." Who said I'm dispensable? I'm very important, okay? Yang Guo looked at her helplessly, not knowing what to say. In this regard, Zheng Yujie's understanding of Poplar Fruit was indeed wrong. Since childhood, Zheng Yujie was used to seeing her superior father and her aunt who controlled the fate of hundreds of thousands of people. Perhaps because of her habitual thinking, she felt that Poplar Fruit had the same desire. But Poplar Fruit did not. Poplar Fruit was just an ordinary person who was obsessed with academics and a plain life. However, this was not important. Poplar Fruit did not care about Zheng Yujia's big words. Anyway, he had already decided to invest. Just treat it as investing a little money to support the team he was optimistic about, to support Qianshou and the others who were now considered good friends. Of course, he was also doing Zheng Yujie a favor, so that she would not be thought of as a liar who gave empty promises. Aren't you going to sleep? Zheng Yujie got into bed, stretched out her pretty head and looked at Poplar Fruit, who took out his laptop and put it on the table. You go to sleep first, I'll write something. Poplar Fruit smiled at Zheng Yujie. It was only 10 o'clock. Unlike Zheng Yujie, who needed to sleep for beauty, Poplar Fruit was not sleepy at all. Usually, he climbed into bed at 1 or 2 o'clock. Are you still translating? Zheng Yujie yawned. She did not rest today and rushed over. She was sleepy. Why don't you give yourself a break? You have so much money. Why do you still need to do so much translation? It's not translation. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, it's to write a summary of my own translation experience. Didn't you say that I was a dispensable vice president? Well, aren't I working now? In the past 6 months, he had learned so much linguistic knowledge, and compared it with his own translation work. Poplar Fruit himself also had some new ideas. He was going to record it, and use it as a teaching material for the Xindao translation training class in the future. Poplar Fruit felt that it might be of great help to translators who had already entered the industry. Oh, so boring. I don't care about you anymore. I'm going to sleep. Zheng Yujie muttered. Chapter 399. When she woke up the next day, Zheng Yujie looked at the empty room and the quilt that had been kicked aside because of the hot weather. Although she already knew that this would be the result, she couldn't help but ridicule Poplar Fruit. He was worse than a beast, living in the same room with a beautiful woman and looking at her curvy body without being moved. Other than Liu Xiaohui, probably only Poplar Fruit could do this. When she came out, Zheng Yujie saw that the yard was already busy. The crew members were counting things and loading them into the car. They were ready to go up the mountain to continue working. Didn't you finish filming? Do you still want to go? Zheng Yujie took a freshly steamed bun and gnawed on it. She walked to Poplar Fruit's side and asked, Good morning, Auntie. Kiki greeted politely, but her face was still covered with porridge and rice grains. Poplar Fruit was chasing after her to wipe them off. Good morning, Kiki. Zheng Yujie responded with a smile and glared at Poplar Fruit. This guy was worse than a child. He only cared about taking care of the child and ignored her. Go ahead. I have nothing to do. Poplar Fruit smiled. I have something to do. Who said that I have nothing to do? Zheng Yujie retorted. I came to find you. Of course, I have something to do. What is it? Poplar Fruit asked curiously. Your book. Zheng Yujie explained to Poplar Fruit. It turned out that Zheng Yujie didn't come just to see Poplar Fruit. Of course, this was the main reason. Otherwise, she could have just called. In order to get the best results, Zheng Yujie contacted Lian, who was abroad, when she was preparing for the marketing campaign for the young school. At this time, Lian had finished filming the film. As long as the special effects were done in a few months, it could be pushed to the major cinemas all over the world. Zheng Yujie looked for him in the hope of getting some first-hand information about Lian, such as screenshots of wonderful movies, or even some behind-the-scenes footage of the shooting of the movies, and so on. These could stimulate the reader's desire to buy the books and greatly increase the sales of the books. Lian had heard of Zheng Yujie's sudden appearance. Author Yang? Martel had mentioned Poplar Fruit to him many times. Lian did not say whether he was going to give it to her or not. He played Tai Chi with Zheng Yujie and turned to Zheng Yujie for the translation of Poplar Fruit. Normally, a publishing house would keep a book strictly confidential before it was published. However, Lian was an exception, so Zheng Yujie gave him the manuscript without any hesitation. Then he said he wanted to see you. Zheng Yujie waved her hand and said, I wanted you to fly to the capital, but I didn't expect you to already be there. Lian is in the capital? Poplar Fruit asked in surprise. Yes. Zheng Yujie said, I didn't know at first, but then I found out that he recently came to China to attend an award ceremony and has been in the capital for the past few days. What do you think about today? Why don't we go back to the city today and arrange for you two to meet? Meeting is not a problem. Poplar Fruit scratched his head and said, Why does he want to see me? It feels like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. He is an international director, and I am just a translator. What can we do? It's like this. Zheng Yujie smiled. She had asked Lian this question before, and Lian had told her the reason without mincing his words. Did you convince Yang before? When Martel was here, didn't he vow that he would use his strength to reverse the situation where he was not recognized by others? Yes. Poplar Fruit nodded and said. This was still fresh in his memory. This promise was moved by Poplar Fruit's Yang? Of course, he remembered it was one of the important reasons for Martel's success. Now Lian is worried that once your translation is released, it will attract the attention of the people in China. Zheng Yujie smiled proudly and said, When his movie is released, people will compare the world described by your words with the world described by Lian, which will lower the evaluation of his movie. Lian also thinks that my book is good? Poplar Fruit asked in surprise. Zheng Yujie raised her head and said proudly, Of course people see you as a big threat. Otherwise, why would he want to meet you? Then what does he think? Poplar Fruit asked in confusion. Does he want us to postpone the release? I think so. Zheng Yujie nodded and said. Then, what do you think we should do? Poplar Fruit had a headache and asked Zheng Yujie. He didn't have any particular thoughts about when he should start selling books, but he had followed Yang before. Martel had promised that they could sell very high sales without the help of Li An's movie. If he sold the book after the movie was released, wouldn't he be going back on his word? Of course, Poplar Fruit also had a little impulse to compete with Li, and Poplar Fruit was not an old man who saw through everything. Poplar Fruit still had the competitive spirit of a young man. It's not good to fall out with Lian if we publish the book in advance. Moreover, if we can cooperate with Lian, our results will be much better, Zheng Yujie said. But it's mainly up to you. When did the publishing house start to care about the ideas of the translator, and even the author? Only Zheng Yujie thought about Poplar Fruit in everything. She would not hesitate to sell the publishing house. However, Poplar Fruit did not think about himself. He was the opposite of Zheng Yujie. He was not obsessed with whether he really wanted to compete with Lian. Let's do it according to your idea. I will listen to you in whatever way you think is appropriate. Poplar Fruit was thinking about two things. First, he did not want to embarrass Zheng Yujie because of his impulse. Second, he also wanted the sales of the book to be better. The sales were just a number for Poplar Fruit. Whether it sold well or not, Poplar Fruit would not lose a penny. On the contrary, if the sales were good, Zheng Yujie could get good results and she would not be questioned by her colleagues. Okay, then I will tell you how to deal with it on the car back. Zheng Yujie did not refuse and said confidently. Poplar Fruit felt that it was time to go back to the city. After all, he had to listen to the arrangements of this guy and the production team. In the end, the guy agreed without hesitation. He said to ZMO and the others with a smile. Do you still need to ask for leave for this kind of thing? If you have a beautiful woman as your companion, you should have accompanied her long ago. Why do you always hang out with us men? Old Kong, do you have any soap to pick up? Who said no? Old Kong, who was unjustly implicated, said without showing any weakness. If you didn't pick it up yesterday, how could I not have it? Oh. Everyone started to tease the guy. So that's how it is. I was wondering why you came to Old Kong's house every day. Hey, don't we know too much? Baiku showed an expression of fear of being killed. Haha. This group of people was always the most amusing. Chapter 400. Brother Yang, Brother Gua. Following Zheng Yujie from the suburbs back to the city, Poplar Fruit walked past the office area of Dongxin Publishing. Along the way, he kept waving at Kiki. She walked with small steps and looked at the person who called her father in surprise from time to time. Speaking of which, Poplar Fruit was quite famous in Dongxin. Last year, Poplar Fruit became famous because of sect leader Qiao's biography. This year, Poplar Fruit had a new book that was going to be released. It was listed in the list of Dongxin's most important works of the year. Other than Yonggua, the only ones who could receive such attention for 2 years in a row were those veteran authors, right? RFA, why are you back in China? Poplar Fruit was surprised to see a familiar figure in the crowd. It was the staff member who was looking for a doctor with Poplar Fruit and Zheng Yujie in the Big Apple. Wasn't he a resident of Xindao in the United States? Hee. Afa scratched his head embarrassedly and said, I didn't find a girlfriend in the United States. My mother was worried and asked me to come back to China. So I came back to China to work for 2 years. Haha, it's okay. There are so many high-quality resources in China. You are so outstanding. It's not a problem. Poplar Fruit laughed. After greeting, Poplar Fruit followed Zheng Yujie back to her office. Come Kiki. This is for you to play with. Zheng Yujie smiled and handed a big globe to Kiki. She wanted to tease Kiki and see how Kiki couldn't hold it. The globe was really big. It was as big as a basketball. However, it wasn't heavy. It was made of plastic and hollow. Kiki raised her head and held the globe. Suddenly, she was drowned by the globe and couldn't see her face. She giggled and stepped back, a little unsteadily. When Poplar Fruit saw that his daughter was about to sit on the floor, he quickly squatted down and supported Kiki's little butt from behind. He looked at Zheng Yujie resentfully and helped his daughter pick up the globe and put it on the floor. Papa, what is this? Kiki curiously circled around it, then came to the front of Poplar Fruit, leaned into her father's arms, and asked in a childish voice. A globe. Zheng Yujie answered on behalf of Poplar Fruit. She also squatted down and gently moved the globe. Along the bearings, the globe began to spin. In the summer, Zheng Yujie was dressed more casually. The front collar of the white floral short-sleeved t-shirt was a little low. After she squatted down, with the height of Poplar Fruit's eyes, he could just see the fullness wrapped in black gauze under the loose clothes. The 2 snow-white round lumps were squeezed into deep ravines. The delicate texture looked amazingly elastic, like a touch of tender white. It was so dazzling that Poplar Fruit instantly forgot to breathe. No, it should be that he breathed more heavily. He reluctantly moved his eyes away. He realized something. He raised his head and looked at Zheng Yujie's bright eyes. The shy and happy expression in Zheng Yujie's eyes made Poplar Fruit quickly move his eyes away like a frightened rabbit. Zheng Yujie was in a good mood. She thought that she was no longer attracted to Poplar Fruit. That night in the suburbs was too disappointing for Zheng Yujie. She thought that she would make some progress that night, but because Poplar Fruit was tormenting her, and she couldn't help falling asleep, it was all for naught. Now it seemed that at least Poplar Fruit had feelings for her. Humph. Zheng Yujie was competing with Fang Beibei in her heart. You're young and lively, but I have my own mature seduction. Don't think that you're always around Poplar Fruit in Yangcheng. Who knows who will have the last laugh? The atmosphere in the office was a little awkward. Poplar Fruit didn't say anything. It was so quiet that only the sound of Kiki playing with the globe could be heard. Fortunately, Zheng Yujie pressed the button to call her assistant outside, and called in her bespectacled female assistant. Make an appointment with Mr. Li. And Zheng Yujie sat in her swivel chair and said to her assistant, Tell him that Poplar Fruit has arrived in Beijing. Ask him when he's free. Also, ask him if he wants to meet at our company or find another place. The assistant held a notebook and took notes. Although she was cute and clumsy, she was very diligent and meticulous in her work. Zheng Yujie had a good impression of her, so she kept her by her side after returning from America. Okay, boss. Do you have any other orders? The assistant adjusted her glasses and asked. Nothing. Zheng Yujie waved her hand, but she immediately stopped the assistant. After you've arranged it, make a pot of tea and send it over. Zheng Yujie was a coffee drinker. She knew that Poplar Fruit didn't like coffee, so the tea was prepared for Poplar Fruit. Okay. The bespectacled girl walked out. After this, the awkwardness and ambiguity between Poplar Fruit and Zheng Yujie disappeared. As long as the 2 of them didn't mention it, it wouldn't be as silent as before. Boss. Why do you have such a title? Poplar Fruit laughed. Isn't it just a deputy editor? Zheng Yujie proudly raised her head and said, Why? Are you not convinced? Can't I have high ambitions? It's rare to have a loyal assistant. Why can't I be a boss? Sure. Poplar Fruit shrugged and laughed. I just think that if you want to be a boss so much, why don't you open your own company? It's not like you don't have money. It's boring to open a company by myself. If you don't want to be a translator, come to Beijing and open a company with me. I'll open one. Zheng Yujie looked at Poplar Fruit with burning eyes. Stop, I don't want to be a boss. Poplar Fruit raised both of his hands and said. Then come and work for me. Zheng Yujie said with a smile. Come, let me hear you call me boss. She was joking, but she was looking forward to it. If she could work with Poplar Fruit, she would be excited just thinking about it. Poplar Fruit shook his head. He would rather die than submit. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. Zheng Yujie didn't know what to do with Poplar Fruit. She could only say, it's not that I don't want to, but there aren't any good opportunities. I'm in the publishing industry now. I have the foundation and interest in this area. But you also know that the publishing industry is saturated. Moreover, because of the emergence of new media, it seems that the publishing industry can't last for many years. Without any good ideas, Zheng Yujie wouldn't rashly start a business. Poplar Fruit wasn't interested in this topic. The two of them talked about their respective situations during this period. Poplar Fruit's situation was that he experienced the taste of the podium once. Of course, he also confessed to Fang Beibei, although he was temporarily rejected. Poplar Fruit wasn't stupid enough to tell Zheng Yujie about this matter. Zheng Yujie also didn't want to know about his progress with Fang Beibei. In Zheng Yujie's opinion, as long as Poplar Fruit wasn't married, she wouldn't give up. Even if he was married. And I'll snatch him over. Chapter 401. Poplar Fruit was sitting in Zheng Yujie's office. At this time, a middle-aged woman came in from outside the hall. Her short white hair revealed her age, but she didn't seem to care at all. She was dressed very well. She was wearing a dark red suit with a skirt and stockings. It seemed to have the same effect as Zhang Ailing's gorgeous cheongsam. Back then, Zhang Ailing was full of sadness and sadness, but she also wanted to cover it up with her innate nobility and elegance, so that those men would not look down on her. And she seemed to want to use the most red and youthful clothes to set off her dying years. Even though she was no longer young, she was still full of energy, just like when she took over the editorial department more than 10 years ago. She was high-spirited, and no one dared to question her ability. That's right, the person who came in was the chief editor of Dongxin Publishing, Pang Yu. However, after walking into the office area of the editorial department, Pang Yu's fierce temperament suddenly changed. She became much more amiable. Along the way, the staff greeted her one after another. Poplar Fruit's treatment couldn't be compared to this. Under her change, the editorial department, which was the core of the publishing company, became particularly harmonious. Although there were occasional conflicts, it was human nature. Generally speaking, the publishing company's work efficiency improved a lot under such an atmosphere. More talented people came in and took root in Dongxin. Pang Yu could proudly say that the more than 10 years she was in charge of Dongxin were more than 10 years of rapid development. However, when Pang Yu walked into the office, she lost her confidence and relaxed. She sank into her leather swivel chair, and her face showed a touch of tiredness. Since the beginning of this year, Pang Yu had encountered a lot of trouble. Someone was eyeing Dongxin Publishing. To be exact, they were eyeing the position where Pang Yu was sitting now. If it was an ordinary person, Pang Yu would have just laughed it off and wouldn't have taken it to heart. This was because in the past 10 years, including the 10 years before she became the editor-in-chief, Pang Yu had made great contributions to Dong Xian. It could be said that half of Dong Xian's achievements were due to her contributions. If she wanted to shake Pang Yu's position, she would have to wait another 10 years until she retired. However, the person who was eyeing her position was not an ordinary person. He was the son of an aristocratic family, and his family background was not inferior to Zheng Yujie's family. It was funny to say that the son of an aristocratic family did not care about how long he would stay in this position. He was only interested because Dongxin had created a big wave in the publishing world with cult master Qiao's biography last year. He was in a state-owned enterprise, and could be considered as half a person in the system. The chief editor position of Dongxin Publishing was just a gold-plated stepping stone for him. Once he was in this position, he would be able to enter the central government's publicity department through his family's connections in less than 2 years. That was all. However, his intention was a big threat to Peng Yu. After all, every carrot had its own hole. If he wanted to sit in this position, Peng Yu would have to give it up. Then the question was, where would Peng Yu stay? He couldn't stay at home for 2 years and wait for this son of an aristocrat to come back, right? In China, there was no such thing as turning back. Peng Yu was not willing to be demoted, and Dongxin was not thick-skinned enough to ask for it. It was also impossible for him to be promoted. The next step was to be the president and vice president of the publishing house. That position was not a position that could be taken just because one was qualified. There were many twists and turns in it. If it was possible to be promoted, Peng Yu would have been promoted a few years ago. Moreover, the president and vice president of the publishing house had not reached the age limit yet. How could they give up their positions? Peng Yu's only hope was to ask his old classmate, Zheng Yujia's mother, if she could give him some support. However, she felt a little uncertain because she had discussed it with Deng Baoyan before. Deng Baoyan could not guarantee anything. After all, the other party was powerful, and it was impossible for them to start a war because of her. Of course, Deng Baoyan did not say this directly. She asked Peng Yu if he wanted to change to another publishing house, or if the Zheng family could help her find a job in the system. After all, she was not young anymore. How could Peng Yu be willing to change to another publishing house and a new job? He was not willing to give up the business that he had fought so hard for to someone else. That was why he had been dragging it out. He would take one step at a time, and see what would happen next. There was no news about when that young master would come. Maybe this year, maybe next year, or maybe he would forget after a while. Is little Jia back yet? Peng Yu called his assistant over, and asked after closing his eyes to rest. She wanted to ask Zheng Yujia about her work. Although she herself was a little weak, she still insisted. As long as she was in power, she must do her job well. Even if it was her last struggle, she must bloom the most brilliant fireworks. The assistant stood respectfully and replied, "She came back. She just came back." "Oh really? Where did this girl go yesterday? I can't find her." Peng Yu was going to call Zheng Yujia over to talk about the progress of young school. "She may have gone out to pick someone up yesterday." The assistant smiled sweetly and said, "I just saw her come back with poplar fruit. I heard that Director Lian is also coming." "Poplar fruit? You mean the poplar fruit in Yangqing?" When Peng Yu heard the name, she frowned. As for the Director Lian, it was completely out of her scope of thinking. The assistant was shocked and thought that she had said something wrong. She said carefully, "Yes, it's the poplar fruit who translated the biography of Steve Jobs for us last year." "Chief editor, is there a problem?" Peng Yu also realized that she had overreacted. Her face eased and she smiled. "No, I'm just curious about why he came. I heard that Director Lian wanted to discuss something with him, so he rushed over?" The assistant said with some uncertainty. Yes, no. What do you mean by that?" Peng Yu educated. "In the future, if you want to know something clearly, then talk about it. Don't be ambiguous." Yes. The assistant quickly nodded and said, "Chief editor, do you want me to call Deputy Editor Zheng over?" Peng Yu pondered for a while, then gently shook her head and said, "No, you don't need to. That's all. I have nothing to do here. You can go out." After the assistant left, Peng Yu sat in the chair and fell into deep thought. She gently tapped the notebook on the table with a pen, slowly showing the struggle in her heart. Alas! Peng Yu sighed softly. She finally picked up the phone and dialed a number. "Hello, Sister Yan, I'm Peng Yu. There's something I want to tell you." Chapter 402. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Lian arrived at Dongxin Publishing on time. He was also a busy man. After coming to Beijing, he had to entertain a lot of people. It was said that he only took 2 hours to meet with Poplar Fruit, and he had to attend a charity dinner in the evening. Go. Come on, you're always the best. Zheng Yujie waved Kiki's little fist and smiled at Poplar Fruit. She didn't go with Poplar Fruit, but stayed in the office with Kiki. It was definitely inappropriate to bring Kiki to the conference room. If the assistant with glasses took her, Poplar Fruit felt that Kiki would make trouble. Now that she had grown up, she didn't say that she had to stay by her father's side, but Kiki was still not easy to deal with in a strange environment where she couldn't see her familiar father. It was fine with Zheng Yujie next to her. Kiki was also very familiar with her, and there were endless magical things in Zheng Yujie's office, in Kiki's opinion. She was still in a state of excitement after playing with them for a whole day. Papa is great. Kiki followed suit and cheered. She didn't know why she was so happy. They were just preparing to go. I will. Poplar Fruit also waved his hand to cheer himself up, and walked to the conference room with a smile. Poplar Fruit was not good at business negotiations. He could only memorize some of the key points that Zheng Yujie told him. But when he thought that there was an international director sitting in the small room in the conference room, Poplar Fruit felt a little nervous and excited. With such a mood, Poplar Fruit pushed the door and went in. A man with gray hair was sitting inside. Poplar Fruit was familiar with this face. He had a square face with a gentle and elegant smile. His eyes were not sharp, but gave people a feeling of amiability. Lian was sitting right in front of Poplar Fruit, just like the photos on the internet. Hello, Mr. Lian. I'm Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit quickly walked up and extended his hands to Lian Long Tianyang. Martel said that you're young, but I didn't expect you to be this young. Lian shook the Poplar Fruit's hand and smiled. Haha, can I take this as a compliment? Poplar Fruit sat down beside Lian and laughed. It was just the two of them talking, so there was no need for them to sit opposite each other. They were too far apart, and Lian could not even see Poplar Fruit's face clearly. Youth is an asset. When I was your age, I was still an unknown student. Lian smiled. So you can take it as my affirmation of you. The industry is different. Poplar Fruit shook his head and smiled. Even after a few decades, I won't be able to reach your achievements. You've set too many milestones for the Chinese in the international film industry, which is beyond our reach. Don't belittle yourself. It's said that every trade produces its own master, and the translation industry can still produce results. Just like Mr. G from Capital University who passed away, didn't he also become a master of his generation? Lian said with a smile. Wasn't it a negotiation? How did it become a mutual compliment? Poplar Fruit had some doubts in his heart. He had to admit that it felt great to be praised by an internationally renowned director. However, just when Poplar Fruit was feeling a little smug, he suddenly remembered that Zheng Yujie had said that during a negotiation, there might be people who could be praised. When you get carried away by the praise, you'll be cheated. With vigilance, Poplar Fruit quickly restrained his complacent mood. As they chatted, Poplar Fruit found that this negotiation didn't seem to be a negotiation. Why did it feel a bit like two friends who hadn't seen each other for many years catching up? Director Lian's storytelling skills were really high. He talked with Poplar Fruit about the interesting things when he was shooting the movie Young School. It was simply endless. More than half an hour had passed, and Poplar Fruit didn't see Lian returning to the main topic. However, didn't Zheng Yujie say that negotiation required patience? Whoever couldn't wait and made a request first would lose half the battle. Poplar Fruit had a lot of patience. Anyway, Lian was anxious about this matter, and Poplar Fruit wasn't in a hurry at all. In addition, Poplar Fruit could spend all his time negotiating with this great director today. Kiki was taken care of by Zheng Yujie, so she wouldn't be hungry or cold. However, Lian was different. He had a lot of things to do, and it was difficult for him to take out 2 hours. Therefore, Poplar Fruit treated it as a way to pass the time and listen to Lian's stories. The interesting things that Lian said were really interesting. For example, in order to shoot the underwater part of the movie, Lian took his 2 children to learn how to dive, and he even got a diving license. In order to experience the true power of the sea, he brought all the production crew with him. They took the coastal rescue team's speedboat and went deep into the sea. In the storm, the 9-foot-high waves rolled the sturdy speedboat around, and the whole crew was almost wiped out. Poplar Fruit admired him. In order to make a good movie, Lian sacrificed too much. This reminded Poplar Fruit of Brokeback Mountain, which won Lian his first Academy Award for Best Director. Lian's pursuit of many details made that impactful and iconoclastic movie intoxicating. This was the effect that he wanted. Lian's eyes flashed with an imperceptible slyness. Poplar Fruit was affected by Lian's personal charm, and his face unreservedly showed his admiration for Lian. The negotiation had dragged on for so long, and it was finally time to start. Lian gently put forward his request at the right time. The general idea was, it's not easy for everyone, and I invested so much in making this movie. Can you consider it for me? Can you do me a favor and delay the publication of the book until the movie is released? Can't you do me a favor and delay the publication of the book until the movie is released? But did Lian really win? Poplar Fruit was not brainwashed by Lian. Although he really admired Lian's attitude of striving for perfection, he still remembered the conditions that Zheng Yujia had prepared for him. It's okay to not release the book in advance, but we should also be compensated. This compensation was that Lian had to agree to let the publishing house hitch a ride with him. At least in China, the book and the movie had to be released at the same time, and Lian had to give enough support, not to mention a lot of beautiful illustrations. If possible, Zheng Yujia hoped that Lian could allow Dongxin to bring the book to the premiere of his movie in China. Lian really didn't expect that Poplar Fruit, who was so young, could still keep a clear head. Hearing the conditions proposed by Poplar Fruit, Lian took a deep breath. The simultaneous release was not unacceptable. Lian knew that if the book and the movie were released at the same time, people would choose the movie more, because the movie only had a screening period of about a month, and the book could be read at any time. But to let Dongxin launch the book at the same time as his movie's premiere, this price was a bit too high. If it were someone else, Lian wouldn't even consider it if they offered a few million. Chapter 403. You agreed? Poplar Fruit asked in a daze. Yes. Seeing Poplar Fruit's expression, Lian regretted it, but he could not take back what he had said. He nodded and said with a smile. Poplar Fruit couldn't believe it. He hadn't even started to deal with Lian, but Lian agreed after thinking about it. Although he had thought of some excuses, Poplar Fruit could not persuade Lian. He had made up his mind to take a step back when Lian insisted on not accepting it. He only wanted to keep the request of releasing the book simultaneously. As for the illustrations, they were not worth mentioning. Lian had no reason not to provide them. Lian was actually frightened by Poplar Fruit. When he saw Poplar Fruit recover from the state of being bewitched by him in an instant, he thought that Poplar Fruit was pretending to be young. Maybe Poplar Fruit was a negotiation master. It was getting late, and Lian had to rush to attend the charity banquet. He did not have time to engage in another 300 rounds of verbal warfare with a master negotiator. He thought about the pros and cons and agreed in the end. Although he regretted it, Lian didn't take it too seriously. His purpose had been achieved. It didn't matter if Dongxin took advantage of him a little. Besides, it was his premiere ceremony. The time he arranged for Dongxin could be long or short. He didn't need to introduce Dongxin's book too much. It seemed that his loss was not great. In fact, doing business was about win-win. In Lian's opinion, it was a loss for him to let Dongxin release the book at his premiere ceremony. But who knew what would happen in a few months? Maybe his movie would be influenced by Poplar Fruit. That was another story. When he left, Lian still showed his appreciation for Poplar Fruit. Now he was sincere. Before that, he heard young Martel's words. Martel had long been curious about Yongguo's work. After he saw Yongguo's translation, he felt that this translator was a talented one. He could even feel the threat of this book. The Chinese version of my movie doesn't have translated subtitles yet. Are you interested in translating subtitles? Lian asked with a smile. Although the pay is not much, only a few thousand yuan according to the market price, this is a good opportunity. You can watch our movie before others. Really? Poplar Fruit was a little moved. It was such a blissful experience to be able to watch a wonderful movie before so many people in the world. Of course. If you're willing, I can get someone to bring a copy over. Not now. It might take a few months. Lian smiled. Sure. Poplar Fruit happily agreed. He hesitated for a moment and asked, Can I bring 2 people with me? One of them is my daughter. She's a little over a year old. The other is my friend, Zheng Yujia, whom you've met before. Haha. It's okay. But I don't recommend you take your daughter to watch this movie. There are tigers and some scary scenes. It's not good for the child. Lian readily agreed. He laughed and patted Poplar Fruit's shoulder. Because he had something to do, Lian pushed open the door and said goodbye to the others. He then left in a hurry with his assistant. Poplar Fruit followed Zheng Yujia, who had been waiting for a long time, back to her office. As soon as the door closed, Zheng Yujia asked excitedly, How was it? How was it? Sigh. Poplar Fruit pretended to shake his head and sigh. He still wanted to give Zheng Yujia a surprise that would be suppressed first and then raised later. In the end, Poplar Fruit's acting was too bad. He should have been dejected, but he couldn't help but smile. Zheng Yujia looked at him and waved to Kiki. Kiki, come here. Kiki bounced over. Zheng Yujia picked up Kiki. She pointed to Poplar Fruit and asked Kiki, Kiki, do you think your papa is happy or unhappy now? To Chi-Chi, this question was a little brainless. Her little brain couldn't understand it, so she tilted her little head and didn't know how to answer. Well, don't make things difficult for Kiki. Poplar Fruit surrendered. He knew that Zheng Yujia had seen through his lies. The negotiation was successful. Lian agreed to all the conditions. Really? We can release our book at the same time as his premiere? Zheng Yujia was really happy now. With this condition, she had a lot more room to maneuver. Not to mention other things, with Lian's attention, there would be a lot of media present at that time. Yes. Poplar Fruit smiled and took Kiki over. Poplar Fruit was very happy because he had gained unexpected results after struggling for almost 2 hours. He moved his mouth closer and said, Kiki, kiss Daddy. Daddy has been out for so long. Did you miss Daddy? Yes. Chi-Chi replied crisply. She pulled her father's face with both hands and went up to him to kiss him. Good girl. Poplar Fruit rubbed his daughter's face happily. In the past, Kiki was pricked by Poplar Fruit's beard. Later, in order for his daughter to be close to him at any time, Poplar Fruit developed the habit of shaving every morning. His other nails were also trimmed very short. He looked fresh and refreshed. Unlike other sloppy fathers, Poplar Fruit was a model father. Tell me how you convinced him. Zheng Yujia looked at him expectantly, as if she was looking at a big hero. Poplar Fruit proudly told Zheng Yujia about the process. That's it. Zheng Yujia asked blankly after hearing Poplar Fruit's request and Li An's agreement. That's it. What else do you want? Poplar Fruit laughed. TSK, I thought you spent the last 2 hours negotiating with him. This is simply effortless. Zheng Yujia pursed her lips. To think that I even thought of so many ideas for you. The process is not important. What's important is that we got the result we wanted. Poplar Fruit persuaded her. Oh right, he also asked me to translate the subtitles for him. Poplar Fruit laughed. You agreed to such a boring thing? Zheng Yujia was not interested and asked lazily. Of course I agreed. Poplar Fruit laughed. There's a small benefit, okay? What benefit? Zheng Yujia asked. You can watch the movie for free and in advance. Poplar Fruit winked at her. He also agreed to let you watch it together. You can watch it in front of billions of people. Watch it with you. Zheng Yujia's eyes lit up as she asked. Her focus was obviously different from that of Poplar Fruit. She did not care whether she watched the movie earlier or later. She felt that it was not as important as being able to watch a movie with Poplar Fruit. However, Poplar Fruit did not pay attention to it. He laughed and said, Of course. After that, only Zheng Yujia's happy cries could be heard in the entire room. Chapter 404. What time is it now? Poplar Fruit asked. It's almost 6 o'clock. Zheng Yujia replied. Poplar Fruit had been in the meeting room for more than an hour. If it wasn't summer, it would have been dark already. Then we have to go, Poplar Fruit said. Kiki wants to eat dinner, and we have to find a hotel to stay in. Poplar Fruit didn't want to go back to the set today, so he might as well go back tonight. Stay in a hotel. Zheng Yujie raised her eyebrows and said unhappily, "Let's go to my house. Let's stay in a hotel. It's inconvenient." Poplar Fruit scratched his head and said awkwardly, "What's inconvenient about it? Didn't you stay at my house last time?" Zheng Yujie said as she held her bag in her hand. "That was then, and this is now." Poplar Fruit muttered in his heart. If it was before June, Poplar Fruit wouldn't have refused Zheng Yujie's invitation. But the situation was different now. He had confessed to Fang Beibei and swore to never hurt Fang Beibei again. If he went to Zheng Yujie's house, wouldn't that be a mistake? "I believe you." Fang Beibei's message before he went online was still vivid in his mind. Poplar Fruit didn't want to betray her trust. Zheng Yujie saw that Poplar Fruit was so insistent. She felt a little jealous, but she quickly adjusted herself and asked, Okay, I won't force you to stay at my house, but you can come to my house for dinner, right? I haven't tasted your cooking in a long time." Poplar Fruit was still very soft-hearted. He refused such a request. Besides, it wasn't a big deal to go to a friend's house for dinner. He spent the night there. "All right, let's go. Kiki is hungry, right?" Poplar Fruit rubbed Kiki's head. "Yeah." Kiki nodded seriously. She touched her stomach and looked at Zheng Yujie pitifully. "I was defeated by you." Zheng Yujie rubbed Kiki's hair affectionately. When Poplar Fruit left, it wasn't time to get off work yet, but no one said anything. After all, Poplar Fruit wasn't an employee of the publishing house. As for Zheng Yujie, she could leave if she wanted to. What was the big deal about getting off work early? After they left, Peng Yu's assistant quietly left his seat, knocked on the door, and entered Peng Yu's office. "Your cooking skills didn't fall behind." Zheng Yujie didn't feed Kiki properly. Instead, she ran into the kitchen from time to harass Poplar Fruit. She held a porcelain bowl in one hand and patted Poplar Fruit's shoulder with the other hand. "Big sister, my dish went overboard when you messed around." Poplar Fruit felt helpless. Zheng Yujie was in his way, so he was a little slow in washing the dishes. He hurriedly moved the stir-fried vegetables from the pot to the plate. "Is it?" "Not at all." Zheng Yujie glanced at it. The vegetables were green and tender, and they smelled fresh and fragrant. How could she say that such a dish that looked, smelled, and tasted too much? It was a little overboard. Under the fire, if it was stir-fried for a few more seconds, the vegetables would be overcooked. Zheng Yujie, who didn't have a sensitive tongue and wasn't picky about the taste, couldn't feel it. However, Poplar Fruit still cared about it. "Well, don't come in. You didn't even feed half of a bowl of rice. You see, Kiki is watching TV again. It's not a good habit to eat while watching TV." Poplar Fruit said to Zheng Yujie, "Can't you watch TV for a while?" Zheng Yujie retorted. However, when she saw that Poplar Fruit was going to argue with her, she quickly changed her words. "I see. Hello, Father Yan." "Goodbye, Father Yan." Zheng Yujie muttered and walked out, closing the door behind her. Kiki was still very keen on watching TV. Just now, she kept pestering Zheng Yujie to turn on the TV for her, saying that she wanted to watch Pleasant Goat. Zheng Yujie wasn't like Fang Beibei. Fang Beibei would spoil Kiki, but she didn't need to spoil Kiki. However, Zheng Yujie really spoiled Kiki. She would give Kiki whatever she wanted. If Kiki wanted to watch TV, she would turn it on without saying anything. This might be related to Zheng Yujie's own childhood experience. When she was young, she wasn't by Zheng Mingxing's side. At that time, her mother wasn't in the capital, and the person who took care of her was that super rich aunt. Her aunt believed that girls should be raised well. Therefore, Zheng Yujie didn't lack anything since she was young. Other children would be lucky if they had 1,000 yuan pocket money a month. But Zheng Yujie already had a credit card that could overdraw 10 million yuan. She was treating Qiqi the same way now. Not to mention the disadvantages, there were none for the time being, but there were many advantages. At least, Qiqi now felt that this beautiful auntie was so cool that she especially liked to hang out with Zheng Yujie. After the meal was ready, Poplar Fruit came out, but Kiki didn't have such good treatment. "Come over here and sit down. How many times have I told you not to watch TV while eating?" Poplar Fruit scolded with a straight face. Wuxia, you really don't know this at all. Poplar Fruit was angry. Although Kiki was a little unwilling, she still walked over obediently. She pouted and her eyes were a little red. Zheng Yujie was scolded. She stuck out her tongue, turned off the TV, and walked over. Poplar Fruit took the bowl in Zheng Yujie's hand. There were still 2 or 3 mouthfuls of rice in it. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he saw that his daughter was afraid and wanted to cry, and his heart softened. Poplar Fruit remembered that he took Kiki to the ravine these few days. Kiki didn't complain at all. He carried his daughter to his lap and gently kissed Kiki's little face. He smiled and said, "Okay, don't feel wronged. I'll open it for you after dinner, okay?" Kiki raised her little hand and rubbed the corner of her eyes. She nodded and said, "Okay. Come, let's eat." Poplar Fruit scooped up a small spoonful of porridge with a smile and handed it to Kiki. Yongwa didn't know if it was because they were eating outside and Yongwa didn't have time to think about how to make delicious food for Chi-Chi, so the porridge didn't taste so good. Or it was because Chi-Chi was thinking about the TV. After eating a mouthful of porridge, Chi-Chi touched her belly and said vaguely, "Papa, Chi-Chi is full." "That won't do. You haven't eaten enough." Poplar Fruit knew that Kiki's appetite was more than half of the average child's. If she wasn't full, she would say that she was hungry at night. Therefore, Poplar Fruit cooked every meal strictly according to Kiki's standards. "Come, eat 2 more mouthfuls. If you don't eat, Auntie Yujie and Papa will have to wait for you to eat. The food will be cold." Poplar Fruit scooped another spoonful of porridge and tried to persuade her. Kiki found that she couldn't fool her father. That hateful little spoon reached over again. She reluctantly looked at the TV from the corner of her eyes and obediently opened her mouth. Chapter 405. While eating, Poplar Fruit glanced at Kiki, who was sitting in front of the TV without blinking. He turned around and asked Zheng Yujie, "What a coincidence. Whenever she wants to watch TV, there's a pleasant goat. Don't you know that there's a type of TV called digital TV? Don't tell me you don't even know about the existence of a TV top box?" Zheng Yujie laughed. "What's that?" Poplar Fruit shook his head and asked. Poplar Fruit wanted Zheng Yujie to explain. Zheng Yujie confidently opened her mouth to speak, but suddenly realized that she didn't know how to explain. She knew about the functions of a TV top box, but it was very complicated and difficult to describe in one sentence. Moreover, she didn't remember the technical terms on the encyclopedia. "It's a good thing. You know that it can be used to watch HD TV, and it can watch old TV shows." Zheng Yujie waved her hand and said domineeringly. "Okay." Poplar Fruit didn't want to delve into this issue. He asked, "By the way, last time you said that the matter had been resolved. That Li Zichao didn't harass you anymore, right?" "No, I don't know where he went. He didn't seem to be in Beijing for the past few months," Zheng Yujie said indifferently. "Besides, even if he still has the guts, I'll beat him to death the next time he comes." "Beat him to death? You?" Poplar Fruit laughed. Hey, don't look down on people, okay?" Zheng Yujie could hear the disbelief and ridicule in Poplar Fruit's tone. She raised her head and looked at Poplar Fruit disdainfully and said, "In any case, I, Zheng Yujie, was the overlord of the courtyard. At that time, which little brat wasn't afraid of me? Li Zichao was beaten by me since he was young." Poplar Fruit still didn't believe her. He laughed and said, "Since you're so powerful, why didn't you beat him before?" "That's because I was afraid that if I beat him up, he would go back and call his parents. It's so troublesome." Zheng Yujie blushed and said, "It's different now. My family didn't agree to his engagement with me and cancelled it. If he doesn't let go, I won't feel guilty even if I beat him up." Poplar Fruit laughed. "All right, I know you're good. Let's eat." With such a perfunctory attitude, it was obvious that he still didn't believe it. Zheng Yujie said angrily, "Let me tell you, I'm a Taekwondo red belt, and I've only been practicing since university. In the Taekwondo dojo, not even 1 or 2 men can get close to me." "Why are you practicing Taekwondo?" Poplar Fruit asked doubtfully. "There are so many traditional martial arts in our country, and any one of them is better than those from Korea." "Who said that?" Zheng Yujie shook her head and continued. According to what I know, those martial arts dojos in Beijing don't have any real skills. They even like to challenge the dojos. There was once when they came back to our dojo, but they were sent flying with a kick from our dojo. Those people are ignorant and incompetent, but that doesn't mean that our country's traditional martial arts aren't good. Poplar Fruit put down his chopsticks and tried to persuade Zheng Yujie. He wanted to change Zheng Yujie's mind. I came across a Xingyi martial dojo in Guangzhou, and the people there are pretty powerful. Naturally, Poplar Fruit was only talking about the dojo master that posed a threat to him. As for the others, Poplar Fruit felt that they were just beginners. I hate those people who keep talking about Taiji Fist and Xingyi martial arts. Zheng Yujie said with disdain. Those people flaunt themselves as disciples of many generations, and think that Taiji Fist is one of the 4 major martial arts in the world, but in fact it's weak. Hey, your words have a wide range of effect. Poplar Fruit scratched his head and said, I am a Taiji Fist practitioner. You're different. Zheng Yujie explained. When I was a sophomore, there was a senior from the Martial Arts Association who wanted to pursue me. He pestered me every day, and even said that he was a 45th generation disciple of Taiji Fist. He was so impressive. This was the first time that Poplar Fruit heard that there were so many generations of Taiji Fist. According to the calculation of 20 years per generation, wouldn't the first generation be 900 years ago? At that time, Zhang Sanfeng wasn't even born yet. What happened after that? Poplar Fruit asked while holding back his laughter. After that, I told him that he would fight with me. If I lost, I would be your girlfriend, and if you lost, don't bother me. Zheng Yujie smiled proudly. As a result, he was still slowly posing there. I went up and kicked him, and he never dared to appear again. No way. So weak? Poplar Fruit asked in surprise. Even if the seniority was exaggerated, if he was able to enter the Martial Arts Association, he should still have some skills. How could he not even be able to withstand 1 round? Zheng Yujie looked at Poplar Fruit's eyes, as if he was suspecting that she was making up a story. She was so excited that she jumped up from the chair and shouted, You don't believe me? Let's spar. Poplar Fruit scratched his head and said, Forget it. You are no match for me. You know that. Last time in Poplar Fruit's hometown, Zheng Yujie had personally witnessed Poplar Fruit fighting 1 against 3, although he defeated them 1 by 1, and even defeated a man with a hoe. If you can't beat me, then why don't you go easy on me? Zheng Yujie said angrily. You are not allowed to fight back. I will show you the strength of a red belt. Helpless against Zheng Yujie, Poplar Fruit had no choice but to stand up. Fortunately, Zheng Yujie's house was very big. After moving the chair, there was a lot of space. Poplar Fruit stood in the middle of the field with his hands hanging down. He stood very relaxed, not caring at all about Zheng Yujie's eagerness. He even had the time to look at Kiki. However, Kiki was busy watching TV and did not pay any attention to them. Ha! Zheng Yujie, who was lightly hopping on the ground barefooted, shouted in a clear and crisp voice and kicked up with her leg. This was not a habit of Zheng Yujie's. When learning Taekwondo, the requirement was to shout before making a move. It felt like she was using her voice to intimidate others. In fact, this was not the only effect. Research had shown that some muscles could contract 10% to 14% faster when they made a sound, thus increasing the speed and momentum of their movements. Zheng Yujie kicked at him. Poplar Fruit did not dodge and took Zheng Yujie's kick head-on. Poplar Fruit did this on purpose. He wanted to see if Zheng Yujie was as strong as she claimed. With his current physical fitness, not to mention Zheng Yujie, even if an adult man kicked him, he could completely withstand it. Of course, what Zheng Yujie said was true. Her kicking skills were quite powerful. Using the hip joint as an axis, she relied on twisting to exert force. Poplar Fruit felt that the strength of her kick exceeded that of an adult man. Aya! Zheng Yujie hurriedly retracted her kick and anxiously walked over. Why didn't you dodge? Did it hurt? Zheng Yujie looked nervous. She was afraid that Poplar Fruit would be injured by her kick. She pulled Poplar Fruit's arm and flipped up his sleeve to check. Chapter 406. It's okay, don't worry. Poplar Fruit smiled and stopped Zheng Yujia's hand from touching his arm. Your strength is not bad, but it still doesn't hurt. Why don't you dodge? Even if you don't dodge, you should block it. Zheng Yujia rebuked. Didn't you say that you can't fight back? Poplar Fruit teased her. You can't fight back because you can't hit me. I didn't say that you have to stand still and let me hit you, Zheng Yujia said angrily. You're a language expert. Can't you understand such simple words? Okay. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, I won't stand still and let you hit me. Come on, let's finish this quickly and go back to eat. Poplar Fruit was still standing in the same place. His body seemed to be moving but not moving, and he looked at Zheng Yujia directly. If Zheng Yujia was an expert with a little bit of fighting experience, he would definitely feel very uncomfortable because Poplar Fruit's posture was too strange. It seemed like there were flaws everywhere, but he also felt like he couldn't touch Poplar Fruit. As long as he moved, there would be thousands of changes in his opponent, making it impossible for him to attack. But Zheng Yujia wasn't like that. She was fearless because she didn't know anything. She shouted loudly, Come and take this. Then she kicked over. Taekwondo didn't have many variations. To put it bluntly, it was just kicking with the feet, and the hands were basically decorations. Front kick, back kick, side kick, jump kick, left leg kick, right leg kick, back kick, left leg kick, right leg kick, back and forth. It was just a few tricks. Poplar Fruit easily saw through it. Poplar Fruit gently waved his left hand, and Zheng Yujia's kick was like a sparrow in Xiao Longnu's hand. It flew happily, but it couldn't escape from Xiao Longnu's palm. As long as the Poplar Fruit diverted a little of the force, Zheng Yujia's foot would fall into the Poplar Fruit's control. However, he was still a gentleman and didn't have the intention to play with it. He put it down as soon as he touched it. Zheng Yujia felt as if she had kicked a ball of cotton. It was too unpleasant. Bang! She took 2 steps back, let out a delicate shout, and stomped on the ground. She actually used the extremely difficult move that she had used when she was in the red belt examination. Flying turnside kick. This move was a little difficult for girls. It was already difficult to control one's body in the air. It was too difficult to jump and turn around. Zheng Yujia thought that she was still as light as a swallow, as when she was a postgraduate student in the United States. After all, she had been working for a long time now. Moreover, she had not been able to move properly before the fight. In the end, when she jumped up and turned around, she lost her bearings and almost fell down. Fortunately, Poplar Fruit's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. His left hand held Zheng Yujia's waist, and his right hand hugged her leg. He directly caught her in the air. This holding posture was very similar to a male dancer holding a female dancer and spinning her around in a dance. If one didn't watch the first half, one would think that the two were dancing at this time. However, because Zheng Yujia was flipped over, she was facing Poplar Fruit. It looked like a couple. A male carrying a female princess. Ah! Zheng Yujia screamed and opened her eyes in shock. Only then did she realize that she was lying in Poplar Fruit's arms. Poplar Fruit didn't wait for Zheng Yujia to blush, and he put her down. Are you done? Poplar Fruit asked with a smile. Seeing Poplar Fruit's smiling face, Zheng Yujia's little bit of happiness and drunkenness in her heart suddenly disappeared. She said unwillingly, I'm fine. After that, she didn't scream this time. She suddenly straightened her left foot, and her right foot kicked from the inside of her left thigh to the back in a straight line. Moreover, it was a very high kick. The angle of both legs was more than 120 degrees. After the kick, her right foot quickly retracted along the original route. This was a very famous chop move in Taekwondo. All the movements were done in one go, and it was very pleasing to watch. However, it was only very pleasing to watch. Poplar Fruit stretched out his hands and caught Zheng Yujia's long legs on his shoulders. Okay, stop fooling around. Poplar Fruit said helplessly. No. Zheng Yujia's right leg was controlled by Poplar Fruit. She pouted and said, I'm just fooling around. Zheng Yujia's left leg was seen jumping forward on tiptoe. The closer she got, the wider her legs were. It was as if Poplar Fruit was pressing down on one of her legs to make her pull the ligament. Before Poplar Fruit could react, Zheng Yujie was in front of him. That's amazing. Poplar Fruit stared at her with his mouth agape. At this time, Zheng Yujie's right leg was raised high, and her left leg was also standing straight. The two legs almost formed a straight line. It was the legendary one-legged, and it was a vertical split. Well, Poplar Fruit's focus was that strange. He didn't see that Zheng Yujie was already very close to him. She looked up at Poplar Fruit's handsome face, and her eyes began to blur. Poplar Fruit initially raised his head to look at Zheng Yujie's toes, but when he lowered his head, he saw Zheng Yujie's seductive eyes. That pretty and flawless face was very close, and her red and tender lips were slightly open. A fragrant scent seemed to hit his nose. Zheng Yujie was aroused by Poplar Fruit's heavy breathing. She stood on her tiptoes and couldn't help but kiss him. In the end, she closed her eyes. Zheng Yujie felt that she was kissing something smooth. She opened her eyes and found Poplar Fruit's hand in front of his mouth. Fortunately, Poplar Fruit's hand was facing outward. Otherwise, Zheng Yujie would have kissed the place that she had just trampled on with her feet. "You're being naughty again," Poplar Fruit helplessly said. He took a step back to the right, and gently put down Zheng Yujie's right leg. "Ai." Zheng Yujie wanted to say something, but when the words came to her mouth, she didn't know what to say. She could only mutter, "You're so boring." Unable to continue fighting, Poplar Fruit and Zheng Yujie returned to the table, and sat down to continue eating. Poplar Fruit silently ate 2 mouthfuls of rice. He didn't pick up any food, and looked a little preoccupied. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Zheng Yujie pointed at Poplar Fruit with her chopsticks and asked. As if he had made up his mind, Poplar Fruit turned his head and said to Zheng Yujie, "Yujie, I think we really can't go on like this. It's very dangerous." "Why?" Zheng Yujie asked, even though she already knew the answer. "Because I confessed to Feng Bei." Poplar Fruit was anxious. He wanted to clarify this matter with Zheng Yujie. "Ah." Zheng Yujie covered her ears, shook her head desperately and shouted, "I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it." Poplar Fruit closed his mouth. Zheng Yujie stopped. She looked at Poplar Fruit vigilantly and said, "Don't say it." "But." Poplar Fruit opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Zheng Yujie. "No buts." Zheng Yujie raised her eyebrows and said domineeringly, "I don't care what happened between you and her. In any case, I will persevere." "But." "No buts, Zheng Yujie, I'm not a person who will back down so easily." Zheng Yujie bit her lower lip, proudly raised her head and said, "It's okay, I will wait until the day you accept me." Chapter 407. After dinner, Poplar Fruit suggested taking Kiki to the hotel. "What's the hurry? Let's play for a while more." Zheng Yujie tried to drag things out. Poplar Fruit shook his head firmly and said, "It's not early anymore. It's already past 9 o'clock. If we don't go to the hotel, it'll be troublesome if there are no rooms." Zheng Yujie hoped that the hotel would have no rooms so that Poplar Fruit would come back obediently. However, she knew that it was impossible. It wasn't the craziest holiday season yet. Even if it was, and even if it was during the most crowded National Day Golden Week, it was impossible to not find a room in a hotel in Beijing. Zheng Yujie's eyes turned. She moved her gaze away from Poplar Fruit to Kiki, who was reluctantly watching TV as her father put on his coat. "Poplar Fruit, let's give Kiki a bath before we go." Zheng Yujie looked at Poplar Fruit expectantly. "We can bathe in the hotel." Poplar Fruit squatted on the ground and answered without raising his head. "But the hotel is unhygienic. Do you want your daughter to bathe in a bathtub that has been used by countless people?" Zheng Yujie tried hard to find an excuse. "Haven't you read the saying on the internet? The public bathrooms in the hotel have the most bacteria. The waitresses don't even clean them. They only change the bedsheets and clean up the trash in the room." That seemed to make a lot of sense. A line from Wang Dachui from Unexpectedly popped up in Yangguo's mind. What he said makes sense. I have nothing to say in response. Although Poplar Fruit hadn't reached this level, he also scratched his head and hesitated. He had heard that the hotel was indeed dirty. He wasn't afraid of anything, but Kiki was still young. Her skin was soft and tender. It was too easy for her to be attacked by bacteria. Moreover, her body's immune system wasn't perfect. Poplar fruit couldn't be at ease. In fact, poplar fruit was fooled by Zheng Yujie. How could it be as terrible as she said? At most, it was a small hotel or an unlicensed private hotel that had such a problem. The management of big hotels had always been strict, and there was no need to complain about the hygiene. Otherwise, those celebrities who loved their wings wouldn't dare to stay in a hotel when they were flying around. Kiki suddenly opened her mouth and yawned. Her eyes were filled with tears because of the yawn. She looked tired and blurred. This was the last straw that broke the poplar fruit. By the time they arrived at the hotel, Chi-Chi would already be asleep. How could he wake her up to take a bath? Poplar fruits. A poplar okay. It's poplar time. I'll bathe Kiki, Zheng Yujie said eagerly. You. Poplar fruit scratched his head. Zheng Yujie pulled Kiki over, raised her head and said, Yeah. Why? You don't believe that I can bathe Kiki? Not really. Poplar fruit knew that a girl's words must be more delicate than his. Bathing Kiki might even be cleaner than him. It was just that he didn't know what Zheng Yujie was up to. Zheng Yujie changed into a white shirt and carried Kiki into the bathroom. Not long after, Kiki's crisp screams and laughter came from the bathroom. The sleepiness seemed to have been swept away. Zheng Yujie was playing with her in the bathroom. The door wasn't closed. Their laughter poured into Poplar Fruit's ears. Poplar Fruit shook his head. He went back to the door and pulled out his suitcase. He rummaged through it to find the clothes that Kiki wanted to change into. Still a little worried, Poplar Fruit walked to the door and carefully looked inside. Fortunately, Zheng Yujie didn't act recklessly. She didn't take off her clothes to play with Kiki. Taking off her clothes to seduce Poplar Fruit was a little despicable. Zheng Yujie wouldn't go so far as to do that. Remember to support Kiki's head when you wash her hair. Poplar Fruit saw that Zheng Yujie was still a little clumsy, so he instructed her. In fact, compared to Poplar Fruit's clumsy appearance when he just became a father, Zheng Yujie was self-taught. Poplar Fruit even had to learn from the nurse at that time. Kiki laid on her back and called out crisply, Auntie. Zheng Yujie's hands were busy. She had to use a towel to wash off the foam on Kiki's hair. She responded perfunctorily. Auntie's hair, why doesn't it grow longer? Kiki looked and asked curiously. Kiki's hair is so pretty. On Kiki's first birthday, her hair was the same as Zheng Yujie's. It was only ear length. Later, Poplar Fruit wanted to let his daughter grow her hair long. Fong Beibei also supported Poplar Fruit's point of view, so she never cut it again. Now it was already shoulder length. She often shamelessly asked her father to carry her around in front of the mirror. She wanted to see more of the beautiful braids her father made for her. Because Auntie likes short hair. Zheng Yujie laughed. Why? Dad said that girls with long hair are the prettiest. Kiki said innocently. Was this considered as revealing a secret? Zheng Yujie raised her head and looked deeply at Poplar Fruit. Her sparkling eyes seemed to be thinking of something. It's nothing. Yanghua smiled awkwardly. After washing her hair, Zheng Yujie used a new towel to wipe Kiki's hair clean. Then, she put her into the warm bathtub. The water just reached Kiki's stomach. Where's the duckling? Kiki looked around, but she couldn't find the familiar rubber duckling in the bathtub. There's no duckling, but Auntie will buy it for you next time, okay? Zheng Yujie quickly comforted. Kiki was a little disappointed. However, she quickly found a new pleasure, splashing water. Poplar Fruit had experienced this before. He was giving her a bath, but Kiki kept splashing water on him. She was having so much fun. Zheng Yujie was caught off guard. A few drops of water splashed on her body by Kiki's raised hand. Be careful. Poplar Fruit only remembered at this time. He quickly reminded her, but it was too late. Zheng Yujie's shouts made Chi-Chi even more energetic. She shouted and laughed as she scooped up water and splashed it out like she was having a water fight. What's more, Kiki waved her hands and slapped the water surface. Suddenly, countless water splashed over the bathtub and flew outside, splashing on Zheng Yujie's clothes. Kiki, you made Auntie's clothes wet. Zheng Yujie shouted reproachfully. Zheng Yujia's playfulness was stimulated by Kiki. As if she hadn't grown up, she started a water fight with Kiki. Their laughter echoed in the bathroom. Poplar Fruit originally wanted to stop them, but in the end, he had no choice but to hide to the side. In the end, the two finally stopped under Poplar Fruit's reminder. Zheng Yujia, who was worried that Kiki would catch a cold if she bathed for too long, finally finished bathing Kiki. Speaking of which, Xiaohan forgot to wish everyone a happy winter solstice. Did anyone eat dumplings or tangyuan yesterday? Xiaohan is a southerner, but he ate several delicious meat dumplings. I like it so much, haha. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.